Health Studios. This is KSL News Radio,
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
9 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story this hour. The Alpine School District has approved a tax increase designed to help prepare for the upcoming district split into 3 new districts in 2027. The school board says the extra money will serve as startup funds for those districts. All of the summer construction and renovation projects in the Salt Lake City School District are done, with one exception.
One project that's still in the works is the Roslyn Heights Athletic Complex. That is a facility that will be used by some of the student athletes at Highland High School during renovation of the campus. District spokesperson Yandere Chatwin says the girls' tennis team is already using part of the complex. She says they're hoping to have it open to the public later this month. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Vice President J.D. Vance is meeting with top White House officials to strategize about the Jeffrey Epstein case. His co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell, recently sat down with the number 2 DOJ official, Todd Blanche. And sources familiar with the contents of that meeting told ABC News that Maxwell didn't say anything disparaging about President Trump. More from ABC's Aaron Katersky.
At the conclusion of the interview, we asked Maxwell's attorney if she told the Justice Department what Trump would want to hear.
Did she or you have an ask of the Deputy Attorney General?
No. There's been no asks and no promises, and nothing like that has been made.
President Trump has not ruled out a pardon.
Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are urging the Justice Department to release the full case files. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 109. Right now we're at 44,221. Coming up, we have another hot day in store today, close to 100 degrees. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:02. Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Hey, Ryan, you remember that trip we took in our tent trailer down to Southern California?
Oh, that was the best.
Making memories with Paris RV. Hook up to the 2025 Forest River Rockwood 16 OTG for only $9,195 or $148 per month, 0 down. Or the 2025 Highland Ridge Open Range 177 BH for only $14,995 or $171 per month, 0 down. Or the 2026 Coachman RV Catalina Summit Series 7 134 BHX for only $14,995 or $171 per month, 0 down.
Take your family out RVing with Paris RV.
Paris RV is your locally owned, family-run RV dealership. We strive hard to find the very best RVs for the price. With 4 locations, over 1,000 RVs in stock, 42 service bays, and 4 super parts stores. We're sure to help take your family on the best RV vacation. Check out our perfect family bunkhouse trailer, the 26BH, that sleeps 9 for $19,995 or $227 a month, 0 down. Life is short. Enjoy it. North Murray, South Murray, Payson, and Pocatello. ParisRV.com.
Hi, this is Derek Overstreet, president of the New Millennium Group and co-host of Stop Working, Start Living with KSL News Radio. Can you imagine what your life would be like if you could retire 3 to 5 years earlier than you thought possible? The things you could do, the loved ones you could spend time with, the memories that you could create. That's what our team at the New Millennium Group does. We'll walk you through the entire process every step of the way. If you'd like to get a copy of the 5-step proprietary plan that will help you retire 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible, give us a shout right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com. Listen, most of our listeners right now have a tax problem, not a money problem. There's not enough money in Social Security Medicare as it is. Let us show you how you can significantly reduce your taxes. That's 888-999-6370, 888-999-6370, or utahsfinancialplanner.com.
I'm back to doing what I love and more, thanks to the Good Feet store.
Are you struggling with pain in your feet, ankles, knees, hips, or lower back? At the Good Feet store, we recommend having high-quality support in all of your shoes. Our personalized arch support system has helped countless people find relief, like Karen. Here is her Good Feet story.
After I decided my pain was too much, and my doctor actually suggested that I do visit the Good Feet store. Pretty amazing when they put the arch supports in your shoe and you walk around and you realize there's not pain, and you think, how can this arch support in my shoe make my back pain go away? But it works. And how can it make my knee pain go away? It was incredible.
Come to the Good Feet store today and see what we can do for you. Good Feet arch supports are in stock and available in over 300 different styles and sizes.
Thanks to the Good Feet Store.
Stop in today at the Good Feet store.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's My Style checking account. And here's Heather Kelly.
Well, the worst delays right now are getting out of Eagle Mountain and Lehigh on 2100 North between Redwood Road and I-15. And once you hop on I-15 and head northbound, there's a new crash right near the point of the mountain just before you get into the Salt Lake County side of I-15. It's over on the left shoulder, just contributing to the slowdowns we still have in that area. And then you'll still be below the posted speed limit from Midvale into downtown. The magic has arrived in Salt Lake City. Celebrate the filmmaking magic and more at Harry Potter the Exhibition. Now open at the shops at Southtown. Tickets at harrypotterexhibition.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today will be sunny and hot, a high of 99 degrees, close to 100 today and tomorrow. Right now it's 83 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Last night, the auditorium at Tooele High School was jam-packed with people who were upset with the district's proposal to increase property taxes by more than 8%. They didn't hold back on the Tooele County Commission.
And I don't know what else to say except we don't want a tax increase. You do not deserve to get any more tax.
The reason we're upset is because it is our livelihood. It is at stake. We are losing our homes.
I think, look, tax increases just are not popular.
They're not.
And they keep happening. So we actually have Adam Small in studio with us to tell us a little bit more about what was happening in Tooele.
Yeah, so the district held a Truth in Taxation meeting. They encouraged people from the public to come in, ask questions, voice their concerns. Now, the school board obviously was going through business, but also gave people an opportunity to come up and speak. Those were two of the people that did go up to the microphone and very vocally told what they believed. But, I mean, I had also gone through some of the meeting audio because obviously I wasn't there last night with how early I get up for our show. But several times you can basically blank fire into this, 2 to 3 hour hearing. At almost any point you can hear someone either booing or just some kind of outburst from the crowd. Like this was like not your typical meeting. Like people were very upset from beginning to end. And to give people a little bit more context on what this tax increase would be, and yes, they are not popular no matter what they are, but this tax increase would increase this Tooele County School District's property tax revenue by just over 8%. If they do this, it would generate more than $9 million in revenue, which they say they need to basically retain their teachers, keep salaries competitive, and also make up that money would also be used to make up a budget shortfall, as far as I was reading on their website. And they're saying we want to do this now because if we put in this one tax increase now, it will save people money in the future if we don't implement another one, kind of thing. So if this were increased, if you live in Tooele and you live in a house that's valued at $475,000, you would be paying just over $284 more per year in property taxes. If you own a business in Tooele that is worth $475,000, you would be paying just over $516 more a year. So obviously, equals out to little over $20-25 a month if you're a homeowner in a home valued at $475,000. But I mean, that's money, and times are tough. It continues to get tough, and I think what you heard last night was a lot of people just saying, we're already working our behinds off trying to make ends meet. Why do we need to be paying you guys more money when we're already doing all this to survive?
So was there I said county commission, it was a school board, but was there some finding or did they make any recommendation at the end of the meeting, or was it tabled, or was it just a public meeting to sort of get an opinion for how people were feeling?
I think it's more a feel it out process. I think I think they're still working on the budget, and obviously we'll follow any developments and bring you updates, obviously. But this was really to allow the public to be able to get up and speak, because it seemed like this was something that had been announced, but people were concerned about. I'm sure they've been getting a ton of phone calls from parents about this, and I think this was really an opportunity to just get people out. Hey, let's get all our concerns out in the open. Let's talk about it. Obviously, we'll have to kind of see how it goes, whether this gets approved. But yeah, that this meeting was really for the public's engagement.
So how long did this meeting go last night?
I mean, it was better part of 3 hours.
Wow.
It was potentially even longer. I mean, it was scheduled to start at 6, and I remember when Channel 5 started their 10 o'clock newscast last night, I believe it was still going. Wow. So, I mean, it may be better part of 4 hours. So there was a lot to talk about.
There really was. That's KSL News Radio's reporter, Adam Small. Thanks for joining us this morning, Adam. Holly, let me just have you break this down for us a little bit. A lot of people have always thought that Utah's Constitution has provided that state income tax, is dedicated to education. Now, it's been tweaked a little bit by constitutional amendments over the years, so that it started out as sort of dedicated to K-12. Then in 1996, it was higher education was added to that. In 2020, it included an addition for children and people with disabilities. They tried to tweak it again in 2024, but they didn't get notice out in time, so that's been stayed. But the problem with the way that, and plus income taxes, the legislature has continued to try to reduce those.
Right.
So the revenue has to be made up through other sources,
right.
And that falls on property taxes in the jurisdiction where the school districts reside. So I think, now you can correct me. So this was Tooele County, Tooele School District. So they're talking to Tooele County residents about the fact that there's a shortfall, that education in that area, Tooele School District, is going to need some additional revenue. And the way that comes is through property taxes.
Right. And they're not the only taxing entity, right? So
Right.
It's not, so you have the state, you have the federal government, you have counties, you have cities, you have school districts, you have special districts, which can be like sewer districts. They all have taxing authority. And so that's one of the issues, right, where people say, look, taxed enough already, right? Remember, that was the Tea Party originally, was the taxed enough already idea. But yeah, so you do have to make this up. And one of the things that I think must be frustrating for school districts is they will put a bond proposal, which is basically saying, we're gonna take out this loan, and we're gonna increase, we're gonna use it to pay for these schools or whatever. So there will be bond proposals, but a lot of times voters will shoot those down. Not all the time, but a lot of times they do. And so then what happens is they're left with raising taxes. So one of the issues, of course, is that I've always seen this little meme for taxation. It's don't tax you, don't tax me, tax the fellow behind the tree, right? Because right. It's like, well, I don't want to pay those taxes, and you don't want to pay those taxes, so make that other guy pay those taxes, right? And so that's one of the issues, of course. And we all want to see public education well funded. We know that Utah ranks, I think, last in the nation, or just maybe above that, just barely, for per pupil spending. We also know that we do pretty well in our state for meeting educational goals, but the reality is we still have needs, right? And if you have areas where building needs to happen, those types of things, right? That's where that money comes from.
Right. And it's not unique to Tooele County or Tooele School District. Alpine School District is trying to raise $22 million. Granite School District's trying to generate $18 million. Tooele, which we talked about, $9.2 million to make up shortfalls or anticipated shortfalls in the income tax that's not going to be coming in.
So Alpine School District is a little different because they went ahead and passed it last night. So they also held a hearing. They also had a lot of people who were opposed and speaking out, but they actually voted for it. 5-2, I believe, was the vote. And their reasoning was because there's an Alpine School District split, and we'll actually be talking about that in the 10 o'clock hour. There's an Alpine School District split that's taking the one district into 3. And they said, basically, we're passing this right now so that they can have startup money so that they don't have to go raise taxes sharply in the next couple of years. So that's what Alpine School District did last night. They went all the way through the process and passed it instead of saying, okay, now we're taking it under advisement. It's a done deal.
Yeah, interesting. And there's apparently only one district in the state where property taxes can fund everything, and that's Park City, which makes sense because property values are high
Sure.
there. So
Yeah.
they're doing okay there. But in other jurisdictions, other school districts, I should say, it's not quite so easy. When we come back after the break, speaking of unpopular topics, offshore gambling setups are unpopular with all 50 state attorneys general. Utah Attorney General Derek Brown is leading an effort to get the Department of Justice to step up and do more to address the problem.
Listen to KSL for the new and traditional content you've always loved. There's the new Inside Sources, expanded from 9 to noon, and new expanded news coverage with Maria Chaleos on midday, noon to 3. And of course, the news and weather from voices you love, mornings and afternoons. Here are new traditions and the familiar ones on KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Andy, my husband and I had Bedrock Quartz redo 3 bathrooms for us, 2 in the old house and 1 in the new house. And I loved working with them for so many reasons. One of which is that they're like a 4-generation family-owned business here in Utah that has been installing countertops and making beautiful kitchens and bathrooms for years and years.
Well, at my house, I suffer from what's called paralysis of choice. When you've got something as wide-ranging with the different types of counters that they offer with quartz, quartzite, like I didn't even know what the difference between those things are. I'm going to need that kind of help when I go through the process.
Oh, they have wonderful designers. Plus, when you go in their showrooms, it's super easy. At station number 1, you select your color and your material. Then you go to station number 2. And you pick out your backsplash, and then you go to number 3, and you select your faucets. It's so easy to do.
They've got what's called employee pricing for everyone. This is the first time they've ever offered this.
For the month of July through August, everyone gets the friends and family discount.
They've got 9 locations near you from Layton to St. George, including a new one in Salt Lake City. BedrockQuartz.com. That's BedrockQuartz.com.
I used to get overwhelmed at the grocery store. One minute I'm reading a label that says healthy. Next thing I know, it's packed with sugar and stuff I can't pronounce. That's when Soda stepped in. When I started the program, I didn't just get a food plan, I got a lifeline. I lost 82 pounds in 16 weeks. But more than that, I learned how to eat smart, shop smart, stay on track even when life gets messy. I could text my Soda nutritionist from aisle 5 and get instant help. That's support you don't get from a label. This isn't about being perfect, it's about being prepared. And with Soda, I finally felt in control of my health and my habit. Go to SOTAweightloss.com. SOTAweightloss.com. SOTA. It stands for State of the Art. Click the Request Your Nutritionist callback. Get to it. You can do it. You know how I know you can do it? Because I did it. SOTAweightloss.com. SOTAweightloss.com.
Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
3 days only, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Save thousands on hot tubs and swim spas. 2 area locations, Salt Lake at Southtown Mall in the Big White Tent, and St. George at Washington County Legacy Park. Major manufacturers liquidation of new 2025 spas, discounted up to 40 to 80%. We have spas to fit any backyard or budget. Free professional delivery, instant on-site financing. 2 area locations, Salt Lake at Southtown Mall in the Big White Tent, and St. George at Washington County Legacy Park. Transform your backyard with a swim spa for the fraction of the price of a pool. The easiest way to exercise or relax in your backyard. Just fill and chill. Shockingly low monthly payments. Don't miss this opportunity to build the backyard of your dreams. See the latest models in person. 3 days only, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 2 area locations, Salt Lake at Southtown Mall in the Big White Tent, and St. George at Washington County Legacy Park. Learn more online at HotTubAndSwimSpaSale.com. HotTubAndSwimSpaSale.com.
Let's go! You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at VaxAssist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Americans may not agree on much, but we agree on Social Security. We all pay in. It ought to be there when we need it. Social Security could face a funding gap in less than a decade, and I don't want to see a pay cut. I'm with AARP in the fight to protect the Social Security we earned.
Pledge to protect Social Security at aarp.org/weearnedit. That's aarp.org/weearnedit. Paid for by AARP.
Right now at SNS Roofing, get $1,000 off any roof replacement. Plus, you'll get their incredible 50-year worry-free warranty. Dial pound 250 and then say the keyword SNS Roofing for a free bid.
Inside Sources.
What can we get all of the Republican and the Democratic attorneys general from the nation to agree on? It seems to be offshore gambling. Yesterday, the National Association of Attorneys General, so there's the Democratic Association of Attorney General and the Republicans, RAGA and DAGA, but there's also the National, where they all get together on something.
NAGA?
Yeah, I guess so. They wrote a letter yesterday to Department of Justice Attorney General Pam Bondi asking for assistance in handling the offshore gambling problem that exists, and they want something to be done on a national level so that they don't have to do 50 different actions statewide.
Yeah, one of the things I had to really get up to speed on is you're talking about offshore gambling or offshore gaming, but they're also talking about online. And so when I looked into it, what I saw was these offshore gaming operations. They're largely operated by foreign-based companies. They don't necessarily have to have a license. They don't have to offer any consumer protection. They fail to verify the age of users. They, of course, can ignore state boundaries, and they evade tax obligations.
Right. And so that state boundaries thing is very important, Holly, because every state has its own gambling rules and regulations. Of course, Utah is about as restrictive as any. And then you have states like Nevada and New Jersey and others that are more loosey-goosey. So if you have a U.S.-based operation, they will be required to follow every state's regulation. But an offshore company doesn't seem to care. I mean, they're not bound by that, because what are you going to do? What is the Attorney General in Utah going to do to some Malaysian and I'm not saying there are some there, just a country that came to my head. A gambling operation. Well, the answer is probably nothing. So if you can get a unified target on this and have the U.S. Department of Justice involved in this, maybe you can do something to stop this problem, because it's a huge problem, and it takes something like $400 billion a year in revenue, which creates a $4 billion a year tax loss. That's what we lose by having all this money go overseas.
Well, one of the things, again, like I told you, I had to get up to speed on this, but when I think of offshore gaming or offshore gambling, I'm thinking like cruise ships, right? So,
right. They shouldn't use the word offshore, but I know what you mean.
Right, but it really does apply to the online gambling that is happening, and we're seeing that more and more. In fact, we've had Deseret News editorial, he's the senior opinion writer, Jay Evenson, talk a lot about gambling, especially in the sports world, and how that is really just exploding. And of course, one of the issues is it can be super, super addictive too.
Oh, yes. And gambling is, I hate to equate it with anything, but at the invent of the internet, the advent of the internet, more and more things are available to people that wouldn't have been earlier.
Right. Yeah.
Adult materials being an example. And so how do you regulate things that are coming through the internet? I mean, it's really, really hard to do. And so you can say, well, the Utah Attorney General is going to do this, and the one in Montana is going to try that. Right. But it's almost impossible when you're dealing with offshore operations.
So I know, even like on my phone, I don't gamble at all, but I will see like little game things like, hey, this is real money. Play this game and you can win actual cash, right? It'll show up. But one of the things that we're learning from this letter is they're actually seeking some they want some real action here. So one of them is injunctive relief. Tell me about that. What's injunctive relief?
Injunctive relief in this case would be to block those websites. In other words, they want the Department of Justice to file a lawsuit and have an injunction issued by a court, but hopefully the United States Supreme Court, or at least the federal courts in the United States, to enjoin these groups from participating or from operating advertising in the United States. In other words, there would be a block on their websites. They couldn't operate in the United States. Another thing they want to do is to be able to, and I don't know how they would do this, is seize assets. Money that does go overseas, they want to claw it back. You're going to have to find it in the first place. And then they want to have a coordination with all states so that everybody's on the same page. And seemingly, if you look at this letter, everybody is on the same page.
Right.
So the injunctive relief would simply be something with the muscle of the United States going in and saying, okay, you are no longer allowed to, your website will no longer be broadcast to people in the United States of America.
So let me ask you this question. So if it goes to a federal court, can they issue a nationwide injunction?
Well, if you got all 50 involved, you probably can. And besides that, who's going to contest it? Some offshore operation, which may not even have standing in the United States to challenge a lawsuit. Now, I know where you're going. You're torturing me, and that's a good thing to do this early in the day. But yeah, I mean, you would expect that there would be some sort of if all AGs got together or the Department of Justice filed something in let's say the D.C. Circuit or something like that, yes, I think you could get a nationwide injunction.
Okay. So one of my other questions about this gambling, so you're saying, and maybe you don't know the answer to this question because I don't know it, but are these companies where the money is maybe going into overseas accounts, don't they have a U.S. tie? I mean, I can't imagine that, like sports betting and stuff, I can't imagine that that's not actually U.S. based.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. They probably don't. I mean, if they have any
Is it
U.S.
a shell company?
Yeah, if they have any U.S. tie at all, then they would be bound by U.S. law. That's the problem. That's the rub.
Right.
That's why they're looking at these offshore. I mean, they have. You're right. They got to collect money. They must have some U.S. ability to raise money, but no, these are offshore operations seemingly, and I think it's sort of like almost like dark web stuff. I mean, you can get to these, but once the money's gone overseas, you're never going to be able to get it back.
Well, I mean, to me, isn't that like what we've been talking about with like Epstein Island, right? I mean, it's offshore, and the ability to claw back money. So I do see that Visa and MasterCard have both said that they're willing to help participate, investigate unlawful use of their networks for gambling transactions.
So that would be huge, because then you don't have a source of revenue, because you and I can't just mail a check.
Right.
If you were gambling, not that you would, but you've
Right.
got to have a source.
Right.
You've got to have and if Visa and MasterCard, those are probably two of the largest providers, two of the largest entities. If they are on board, of course, it's going to cost them money too. But
that's what the letter from
Yeah.
Derek Brown says.
Yeah, I saw that. I think that's huge. And I'll say this about gambling, just because I've dealt with addiction and problems over the years in terms of my career. And you said it at the outset: gambling is an addiction. It's a problem. It's something that people get hooked into, and they can't get out of it, and it affects unfairly low-income individuals because you don't have as much to gamble with, and it affects people that have sort of addictive personalities anyway. And you can have people that blow their their monthly income on
their
gambling,
mortgage, their food money,
And these operations, whether they're U.S. or offshore, aren't set up to make the gamblers rich. They're set up to make themselves rich. When one or two gamblers do pretty well, and they can say, "Hey, look, so-and-so won $30,000."
I know, right? But they're always the exception, right? And we know that are always the exception, that people who gamble lose far more often than they win.
And that's why I think the states and the federal government jumps in, with cigarettes, with alcohol, with other things that have harmful traits or addictive qualities. Sometimes the government needs to jump in and say, hey, wait a minute, we need to protect people from themselves, unfortunately, and do something about this so that we're not having – and plus the loss of revenue that goes overseas and never comes back again. And the loss of – I think the most important thing that they're upset about is the loss of regulation. You can't regulate these entities because they're not here and they're not subject to your jurisdiction. They're not subject to your laws because they're not citizens or residents of the state of Utah or any other state.
Yeah. I just did a quick search for Surgeon General and gambling. The U.S. Surgeon General has highlighted gambling as a growing public health concern. So, right? I mean, that's one of the issues where we're talking about, look, it's not just, hey, I've got a little bit of pocket money and I'm going to go, put down my $20 or even my $200, whatever. It's that we are losing mortgage money and food money and the ability to feed our family. And again, it's really exploding, especially in the sports world, which is really interesting to me.
Absolutely. And with respect to gambling, the genie's out of the bottle.
Yeah.
And so the only thing we can do is try to regulate it. Gambling is here. It's here to stay. There's not much you can do about it. But if you can regulate it, try to do something to have something in effect to protect people from themselves, you're doing all you can. And that's what these attorneys general are trying to do.
So when we come back, The Utah legislature actually told all of the publicly funded universities that they needed to cut their budgets and they needed to really realign their programs. But the University of Utah, they're the last one to announce what programs they are wanting to cut. It's 81. And we're going to talk about that when we come back.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story: things got heated at a Tooele Truth in Taxation meeting where the school board is proposing raising taxes. They say they need an additional $9.25 million, which would be an 8% increase.
The reason we're upset is because it is our livelihood that is at stake. We are losing our homes. Sorry. And we're trying to put food on the table.
The school district says they need to stabilize their finances and maintain current salaries for teachers, but residents say the district is not being transparent with their funds. Our top national story this hour from ABC News: Texas Republicans are doing everything they can to try to get Democratic lawmakers back to the state so they can vote on a new electoral map. Here is ABC News Chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce.
The congressional map is not linked to presidential races. Instead, it's usually tied to the once-a-decade census. Still, the president pushing for a new Texas map to give Republicans 5 new seats in Congress. But a vote can't happen without Democrats present, and dozens have fled the state. Texas Governor Abbott has already threatened to arrest them. Now he's calling on the state Supreme Court to remove the top Democrat, Gene Wu, from office.
Now President Trump is upping the pressure on them, even telling ABC News that the FBI may have to get involved to bring those Democrats back. Your money at this moment: the Dow is up 149. We're at 44,260. Coming up, another hot day in store with the temperature up near 100. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:32. A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
1877 Cards for Kids. KARS Cards for Kids. 1877 Cards for Kids. Donate your card today.
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate your car today at carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K. Your car, running or not, can be picked up as soon as the next day. You'll get a maximum tax deduction and a vacation voucher.
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Keeping your engines healthy means protecting them in season and out. Experts trust Stable to do that, and third-party testing confirms it. Stable is the industry leader in preventing fuel-related issues, no matter if you use it in your car, boat, or outdoor power equipment. In season or out, at every fill-up or when you store, start with Stable.
Everybody knows that exterior remodeling salespeople are all about the high-pressure sell. Am I right? Windows, siding, gutters, those suckers are going to twist your arm and get you to buy, or they won't leave your house at night. Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors, and I want you to know we don't have high-pressure cells. In fact, we don't even have salespeople. Nope, we have estimators. That's a huge difference. Estimators are trained to look at the entire scope of the project, to see and know if there are any problems, like rotten wood, wood-borne insects, or construction issues specific to your house or your neighbors. Salespeople are more concerned about playing those silly price games. Buy one, get one free, sign today and get 40% off. as if they didn't just jack the price up to give you a fake discount. RGS Exteriors estimators are going to give you a great quote. No games, no tricks, no nonsense. Call RGS Exteriors to quote your exterior project. Our number is 801-280-3110 or visit us at rgsutah.com. That's rgsutah.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's My Style checking account. And back to you, Heather.
We still have
Social
significant
Security is with
delays
you
on
through
northbound I-15 as you make your way from Lehigh, trying to get into the Salt Lake Valley. It's due to a crash right near the point of the mountain that's blocking the HOV lane and left shoulder, so people are having to move out of that HOV lane, slowing everybody down. And once you get into the Salt Lake Valley, you're looking pretty good all the way into downtown Salt Lake. No delays anymore getting out of Tooele County or southbound I-15 through Weber and Davis counties. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Let's get a look now at that weather forecast for today. It'll be sunny and the highs will be up there near 100 degrees. Wind should be shifting to the southwest later this afternoon. Right now, downtown, it's 84 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
So, Greg, if you remember earlier this year, there was kind of a controversial bill, but it passed and was signed into law. It was House Bill 265, and it was strategic reinvestment legislation that required all of Utah's public colleges and universities to reallocate millions of dollars to programs that they thought were of the highest value. So it's not only workforce related, right? But one of the concerns at the time is that the humanities would be the most heavily impacted. And as we see yesterday, the University of Utah released their list. There's 81 courses and programs that they have on the list on the chopping block. And it's humanities was hit the hardest.
Yeah, and it seems that what happened, and you stated it really well, House Bill 265, when it goes into effect, and it has gone into effect, the U lost nearly $20 million under that budget, but they have the possibility, and I don't know how this works exactly, of getting some of that back if they reestablish what they're doing and they look at some of their programming and say, hey, wait a minute, we can change this and we can change that. So they've eliminated 81 programs in all, but what they've said is that either one student or no student have graduated in that programs over the last 8 years.
Right.
So effectively, they're not effective programs. Here's KSL News Radio's Becky Bruce.
The U's Board of Trustees approved the list, 81 programs in all, but the Utah System of Higher Education and the state legislature will also review it. These are programs that have had either no graduates in recent years or only one. And while the humanities bear the brunt of the cuts, the colleges of engineering, science, business, and medicine are also losing programs. All of it dictated by a new state law. The U lost nearly $20 million from the state's higher ed budget, with the possibility of gaining funding back by reinvesting in programs with a better return on investment. Every school in the state had to reply to lawmakers by later this month with their list of cuts. Becky Bruce, KSL News Radio.
So again, one of the issues, right, is that people worry that what are we going to lose if we're eliminating these humanities programs? But we also have to acknowledge, look, if you have 81 programs where you have nobody or only one student who graduates from that program in 8 years, that would be, I would say, a program that is no longer popular, right? And some of these, like, I actually was surprised to see some of these, and they range from bachelor's degrees, master's, doctoral degrees, but you also have certificates that you can earn after you get your bachelor's or even after you get your doctorate. But one of the areas that really surprised me is their Middle East Studies program. Like, there's multiple majors in that program that have just been eliminated: history, Arabic and linguistics, anthropology, Middle East Studies, political science of Middle East Studies, right? They're gone.
Yeah, and what surprises me even more than that are programs within, because I'm a math and science geek and was an engineering student in college. The College of Engineering has about a dozen of its programs which were eliminated, including a master's in chemical engineering, a master's in civil engineering. Are people just not taking that? And maybe it's a subset of another master's program, but they've been eliminated. The College of Mines, which is where I actually attended, my degree was in metallurgical engineering. Mining engineering has about 8 or 9 programs just itself. And I took a lot of classes in the mining program up there at the university, including their master's program, their post-baccalaureate programs. Maybe they're just not as popular as they were before, but those were big ticket items when I went to college.
Yeah, it's just interesting, right? So I wouldn't have been surprised to see typing on the list, which of course I wasn't, because that's been gone for a while. But it seems to me like I was a political science major for my PhD, and the University of Utah is where I got my degree. But these Middle Eastern studies, they're talking about like languages, like Arabic and Hebrew and Turkish. Those seem important right now, the way the world is.
Oh, yeah, and you would think that more people would be taking them. But I also understand that it's a supply and demand thing.
That's
and
right.
If students aren't taking, if you're going back 8 years and you've had 0 or 1 graduate in a program, then why are you having that program?
Right.
What I don't understand is, and maybe you can help, eliminating a program that nobody's taking, how does that save you money? You know what I mean?
Yes. So you're going to have to reallocate resources, which means shift people around. Sometimes it means that you don't hire for open positions. Sometimes you reassign your professors. But it does take money even to say we're going to have, these classes on the books. Although, like at some point you have to say, okay, well, have we already reallocated all of those professors? Look, I know that every other university so far that I have seen in the state of Utah that is looking at these cuts, faculty are being cut. And whether they're adjunct faculty or they're not filling open positions or they're full-time faculty who are choosing to retire early, there are impacts to the faculty as well.
There are a lot of these programs that I'm looking at that deal with getting a degree in teaching. For example, there are 4 or 5 chemistry programs, chemistry teaching, a master's in chemistry teaching, political science. You'd think, why would you?
I actually didn't know they had a program in political science teaching. I might have taken it.
Right, yes. I think Leah Murray could teach that
she
class.
Could. Oh, my goodness, she sure could.
But maybe people just, because think of all the people that should be chemistry teachers. I mean, every high school and college needs
especially the ones that can do those fun in-classroom experiments with explosions, right? Those are the best.
Yeah, making the volcano.
Yeah, one of the concerns that I have heard expressed is if you're reallocating resources and you're saying, okay, these are not popular programs, we're going to reallocate towards more popular programs, and what that means is, are these students graduating and getting jobs, that are living wage jobs, those types of things? How are they employed? Are we shifting the focus of universities by making them become industry-driven only, right? And it's fine, I think, to have industry-driven programs. I think it's fine to have the tech schools and trade schools say we're industry-driven as well. I think it's fine to streamline programs, and like several universities are now offering 3-year degrees. But there is something really important about learning about the broader world, and that's what you get with the humanities, which aren't as popular, and it's harder to get employed at a decent paying job when you're in the humanities.
And one of the things that we've been talking about a lot in our country over the last several years, it started with Biden, was student loan forgiveness.
Yep.
And you also have to think, what kind of income can I generate from this degree?
Right.
And am I going to be stuck with student loans that I'm never going to pay back because the degree doesn't generate that kind of income like you just talked about? Now, that's a terrible reason to cut a program.
Right.
But I can also see from a dollar and cent perspective that the legislature is saying, well, if we're creating these degrees and all they're doing is creating debt, maybe we should rethink that.
I understand that, and I still understand the concerns as well, to say, look, we do lose something by eliminating these programs. Now, I'm not saying that they made bad choices. Clearly they didn't. But when you're reallocating and everything goes to your MBA program, for example, or everything goes to, well, now it's going to be AI, probably, right? Those are great professions, but they're not the only ones.
Yeah, and if the U can cut back 81 programs, it kind of makes you wonder how many they have.
It does make me wonder, and I have not been able to find out how many. It's a lot.
You probably
it's
don't
a
want
lot.
it. They probably won't tell us that, but 81. You think 81 programs would be a huge portion of their curriculum, and maybe it is. Who knows? But that seems like a lot. And like you say, just in certain colleges themselves, Middle East Studies, mining engineering, computer science, that type of thing. There are a lot of cuts.
Yeah, I have to just add the Deseret News. I participated in an editorial board meeting this week with the president of SLIC, the new president of SLIC, and he mentioned that his undergraduate degree was in English, and he kind of joked about it and said, everybody wants to know, what are you going to do with a degree in English, right? And he said he didn't want to go to law school. He wanted to teach, and now he's the president of SLIC.
Yeah. My wife has a degree in English, and she can write a whole lot better than I can with my degree in engineering coming into law school. But I think we both had benefits from our own programs, and thank goodness they both existed when we were in school. When we come back after the break, how much more than minimum wage do you think Utah workers need to make to live comfortably? And how do we compare with the rest of the nation? That's coming up. Remember, stream us live at kslnewsradio.com and on the app for KSL News Radio, sponsored by At Your Service Pros.
Have old jewelry you never wear? A diamond that's been passed down but doesn't quite feel like you? At Duke's Jewelers, they specialize in remounting and custom design. Whether it's refreshing a cherished heirloom or creating something completely new, they'll help you bring your vision to life. Bring in your own diamonds, gemstones, or even gold. They'll start with a one-on-one consultation, sketch ideas together, and create detailed CAD renderings so you can see exactly what your new piece will look like. They even offer 3D resin models so you can try it on before it's in production. It's personal, it's collaborative, and it's all done with the quality and care you've come to expect from a fourth-generation jeweler. Visit Duke's Jewelers in Springville, where your old treasures become new favorites. That's Duke's Jewelers. DukesJewelers.com.
KSL offers the best daily newsletter in the state. It's the 3 things you need to know. Every weekday, we deliver quality and relevant content to your inbox. No ads, no spam, just the 3 things you need to know to be informed about the world around you. Subscribe today. Visit KSLNewsRadio.com or text the word INBOX to 57500. That's INBOX to 57500.
When it's hot like this, air conditioners struggle to keep up. Parts are under more stress, and sometimes those parts fail. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and no one helps more homeowners maintain and repair their air conditioners than Any Hour Services. As a matter of fact, last year, over 32,000 homeowners called Any Hour Services for help maintaining and repairing their systems. Any Hour Services has over 100 HVAC technicians to help with everything from maintenance, repair, to installing a new system. This summer, there'll be a lot of people told they need to replace their air conditioner, and they'll wonder, do I really need to? If you're told you need to replace your air conditioner and you still have questions, Any Hour Services can give you a second opinion and let you know what options are available. Maybe it just needs a little maintenance or a small repair. Maybe it does need to be replaced, but if you don't feel good about being told you need to replace your air conditioner, don't ignore those feelings. Call Any Hour Services for help with air conditioner maintenance, repair, or to schedule a free second opinion. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
I'm Jordan Wilcox, your Utah tax attorney. When life gets overwhelming, some things tend to fall by the side.
I'm Carlos Sanchez from Draper, Utah. I was managing a business, helping out a business, doing paperwork and getting paid, and my wife got sick. We filed taxes, but then we got audited. And when I went and talked to the IRS, they didn't give me any choice. The IRS pretty much said, this is what you owe us, when are you gonna pay us? And we're talking quite a bit. But every time I drive, I listen to the radio. Jordan Wilcox, Jordan Wilcox. So I figure there's a reason these guys on the radio. So I called them.
Put an end to IRS collection and aggression today.
The amount that the IRS came up with, close to $250,000, and the offer and compromise was about $7,600. That's it.
This is Utah tax attorney Jordan Wilcox. Let's solve your IRS nightmare. Visit endtaxworry.com.
Go for it. The outcome, it was worth it. I'm okay.
endtaxworry.com.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I
I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/deal to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/deal for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
Sure, humans can be a little weird at times. But take it from me, I'm a dog. And a person is about the best thing that can happen to a shelter pet. So if you want to learn how you can be that person, get down to your local pet shelter or visit theshelterpetproject.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
And expanded Inside Sources.
How much more than minimum wage do you think Utah workers need to make to live comfortably?
If minimum wage is $7.25, at least 3 times, I would guess.
You're almost exactly right. It was more than 3 times the minimum wage to live comfortably here. And the new study has come out by Artrios in the United Kingdom, and they looked at this for every state, what the minimum wage is in that state, and then they had a wage calculation from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, which I would say is probably going to be pretty accurate, to what the realistic wage should be to have a comfortable cost of living in that particular state. So it varies from state to state to state.
Yeah.
But Utah's minimum wage, like you said, is $7.25. Our estimated cost to cover basic necessities, $23.91 per hour. So you're right, 3 times, and that makes Utah the 4th worst state with the biggest pay gap in the nation, the 4th biggest pay gap.
Wow.
Here's more from KSL News Radio's Adam Small.
That's according to a study conducted by UK-based company Artios, which was obtained by Cache Valley Daily. It shows the living wage, or the wage you need to live comfortably in states like Utah, is between about $23 and $25 an hour, meaning if you make the $7.25 minimum wage, you need to make more than 3 times that to live comfortably here. Data shows, though, very few Utahns are actually trying to live on minimum wage, though the Bureau of Labor Statistics says about 1 in 4 Utahns are making less than $17 an hour, many of whom are single parents. Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
You know what's interesting to me? This study was published in Cache Valley Daily, so way to go, guys. I included it in the Utah Policy newsletter this morning as well. But one of the things that I did not know is I thought minimum wage was the same everywhere across the country, and there are actually 2 states where minimum wage is only $5.15 an hour.
Yeah, is that Georgia and Wyoming?
Yeah.
I mean, those are the states that had the biggest pay gaps.
Yeah.
So I assume that they have the lowest minimum wage.
I didn't know you could do that. Like, I thought it was the floor.
I thought the national minimum wage was Utah's minimum. I thought we were the floor.
Again, that's what I thought too, $7.25. So the 5 worst states in the nation, so you have Georgia and Wyoming that you mentioned where the minimum wage is lower, but you also have New Hampshire, Utah, and Idaho.
Yeah, we're not doing very well.
We're not number 1.
Yeah. So you also indicated that $17 an hour is considered a low wage, and that we're even in Utah we're more expensive than that. I mean, even a low wage,
right,
which is unfortunately a common wage, $17 an hour. People think, okay, that's the minimum you really have to make. It's not anymore. That you've got to do better than that.
Here's what the information is telling us, that those low-wage workers in Utah, there's about 1/4 of all of Utah's workforce is at that about $17 an hour, and 51% of Utah's single parents are in that category. Imagine trying to support children on $17 an hour.
51% of single parents in Utah are at or below $17 an hour.
Yep.
34% of mothers and 16% of fathers are in that low wage group. Under $17 an hour or under. That's really an incredibly low wage.
Yeah, so MIT, their living wage calculator, the things they take into account, the local costs for food, local costs for childcare, healthcare, housing, transportation, other necessities. And, you know, one of the things I remember when I volunteered at a local food pantry a while back is that a lot of the people who came in to access the food pantry were actually what we called the working poor. And it included professionals. There were teachers who had to come in. There were nurses who had to come in and say, look, I have a job, but I just can't make ends meet. And we're looking at this, this category if you've got extra expenses of any kind.
So, and you consider there are some states, Utah's number 4, in that they require at least 3 times the minimum wage to have a livable wage. But there are 18 states that require workers to earn triple their federal minimum wage just to cover their basic costs.
Yeah,
18.
And
a third of the country is at 1/3 of the livable wage. That's a scary number.
Yeah, and we have some texters who have said, I don't know anybody working for minimum wage right now, and I think in some ways that's true, because if you go to even like a fast food restaurant, they're paying more than the $7.25, but you also have places where they're based on tips, right? And so we know there that they're paying below minimum wage, assuming that they're going to now make up the difference on tips that won't be taxed for the next 3 years.
And this study also showed this. Even in the states that have the smallest wage gaps, in other words, minimum wage versus cost of living,
right?
You still have to earn double the minimum wage to cover your basic needs.
Right.
So minimum wage is, it's sort of an arbitrary number, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. And we talk a lot about, should we raise it? Should we do something to it? You would expect there to be a higher national minimum wage than whatever Georgia and Wyoming are.
Right, at
like
$5 an hour.
Something an hour. When I started working, I think the minimum wage was $1.25. It was a very low number, but we haven't kept up. We haven't kept up with cost of living at all. And you would expect that there would be something Utah could do a little better than $7.25.
So even if we say $17 an hour, right, and there's always kind of controversial and angry discussion about raising federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. But even if we say it's $17 an hour, trying to support a family on that, like I have two adult children who have full-time jobs. One is a teacher, one is a certified nursing assistant, and working in a care facility. I think they both do amazing work, and neither one of them can afford to go out and live on their own. They can't do it.
Yeah, I was trying to find the minimum wage by state, because I know there are some that have a significantly higher minimum wage than we do here in Utah.
I assume California.
Right. And I know that nationally, our legislature is reluctant to start setting minimum wage requirements for every state because of, not for any particularly good reason, but because it maybe affects the job market too much.
Mm-hmm.
But $7.25 is I think that's such an outdated minimum wage that you would expect we would up the ante a little bit.
Yeah, it's interesting. I did Google. Thank you, Google. And California is the highest. It's $16.50 an hour statewide, but some cities and counties have a higher rate. Berkeley, for example, it's $19.18 an hour. Arizona has a higher rate, $14.70 an hour. Alaska, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, D.C., right? And even some of the states that we would consider conservative states like Missouri, $13.75 an hour. Ohio, $10.70 an hour. But those
are still less than half of the livable wage.
Well, for Utah, some of those states have a lower cost of living as well.
But it's not going to be in the teens, probably. I would assume that even the least expensive states, and Utah's up there right now because of housing and other things.
Yeah, that's one of the issues. We have higher gas prices than the national average. I don't know why, right? It's weird.
That doesn't make sense.
But those are issues that Utahns are facing. And again, you have another study that says, okay, Utah, we do have this gap, and what are we going to do? And when you talk about single parent families, it's not exclusively female, but it is often female. And so what these workers are doing is they're working multiple jobs, and then that creates its own sets of issues, right? So how do you get your kids to school if you're working multiple jobs and you don't have flexibility anymore? How are you making sure that your kids are getting health care? When we're saying, okay, if you make above a certain income, you don't qualify. Or if you're, if you qualify for Medicaid, now you have to actually be working 20 hours a week, but they're trying to do that already, right? That's the issue.
You've been up on the Hill. Is there just not much of a, appetite or interest in our legislature to change the minimum wage?
No,
because it doesn't even seem to be on the radar anymore.
No, I don't think it's even on the radar. We have another texter who said that they worked 2 jobs for 12 years until they got cancer and couldn't handle the cashiering job anymore, right? I mean, it's stuff like that where it's rough.
Yeah, it breaks
People
your
are
heart.
doing the best they can, but they're getting these low wages. And, I remember I had a daughter-in-law who actually had a college degree in early childhood development. She got a job in a daycare center, and she was literally making $10 an hour as a college graduate.
Yeah. I mean, I would say step it up, Utah, but minimum wage doesn't apply to too many people, I don't think. I mean, it's a requirement for certain employers, but not many people are in that gap, although you did say some 51% of single parents are below $17 an hour.
Right. And again, they're working multiple jobs, and that's one of the issues. So look, we're going to take a quick pivot. It's back to school season, and it's also election season. So my kids go back to school next week on Wednesday, but election ballots have to be submitted by 8 p.m. on Tuesday. In Alpine School District, where I live, we have 77 candidates to fill 21 school board seats because we're splitting into 3. We're going to talk about that with a representative from Alpine School District when we come back.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story, the first trial for the man accused of leaving the country to avoid rape charges here in Utah, is scheduled to start next week, but jury selection continues today. Nicholas Rossi is accused of committing the multiple rapes back in 2008. He was identified through DNA in 2018, charged in 2020, and extradited from Scotland back here in 2024. Potential jurors will be at the courthouse in Salt Lake City as opening arguments are prepared in the first case being tried in Salt Lake County. The second case is scheduled to be in court in September in Utah County. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Trump has imposed an additional 25% tariff on imports coming into the U.S. from India. The president says it's because of India's relationship with Russia and countries continuing to purchase Russian oil.
Key Russian propagandist figures in the last few days have been switching their rhetoric significantly. People who previously were praising Donald Trump, painting him as this new type of president that Russia was ready to do deals with and ready to cooperate. And in public, President Trump's rhetoric earlier in his second term was, from a Russian perspective, much more positive on the war in Ukraine. Now those key Russian propagandist figures have changed their rhetoric and are criticizing Donald Trump.
ABC's Tom Sufi Burridge reporting. Your money at this moment. The Dow is up 135 right now. We're at 44,240. Coming up, the wind and the heat return. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:02.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, we're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy-downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to thesternteam.com. That's thesternteam.com, or Google The Stern Team.
Americans may not agree on much, but we agree on Social Security. We all pay in. It ought to be there when we need it. Social Security could face a funding gap in less than a decade, and I don't want to see a pay cut. I'm with AARP in the fight to protect the Social Security we earned.
Pledge to protect Social Security at aarp.org/weearnedit. That's aarp.org/weearnedit. Paid for by AARP.
You still got it, but your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and— ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Check engine or ABS light on? Take the guesswork out of your warning lights with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
3 days only, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Save thousands on hot tubs and swim spas. 2 area locations, Salt Lake at Southtown Mall in the Big White Tent, and St. George at Washington County Legacy Park. Major manufacturers liquidation of new 2025 spas, discounted up to 40 to 80%. We have spas to fit any backyard or budget. Free professional delivery, instant on-site financing. 2 area locations, Salt Lake at Southtown Mall in the Big White Tent, and St. George at Washington County Legacy Park. Transform your backyard with a swim spa for the fraction of the price of a pool. The easiest way to exercise or relax in your backyard. Just fill and chill. Shockingly low monthly payments. Don't miss this opportunity to build the backyard of your dreams. See the latest models in person. 3 days only, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 2 area locations, Salt Lake at Southtown Mall in the Big White Tent, and St. George at Washington County Legacy Park. Learn more online at HotTubAndSwimSpaSale.com. HotTubAndSwimSpaSale.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's My Style checking account. And here is Heather Kelly.
The only delays we have now are southbound I-15 between Kaysville and Farmington due to daily lane restrictions that happen this time every morning. And then a little further south of that into Centerville, there is a crash. It's over on the right shoulder. Originally, it was causing a bit of brake light tapping, but that is eased up. Now you're back to freeway speeds into downtown. And then northbound I-15, the crash at the point of the mountain is in the final cleanup stages. There's just one emergency vehicle left on the left shoulder, and that does still have a little bit of slowing backed up to Timpanogos Highway. When you need the financial products and services for every stage of life, Cyprus Credit Union is there for whatever the future holds. Visit cypruscu.com today. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
The KSL Weather Center says Salt Lake City should reach 99 degrees today. Winds from the south picking back up, and those winds will stick around through Friday. Right now it's 88 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
So there's a lot going on in the Alpine School District right now, and that is the school district where I live. It's back to school season. We start a week from today, but it is also election season, and that means really it's an important election this go round because Alpine School District is splitting into 3 different districts that each one will have 7 school board members, and there were 77 candidates who filed to fill those 21 seats.
Every cat had 7 kittens.
7 kittens, right?
Had 7 cats. Hey, so remind us what happened. In the last election, there was a vote to the people in the Alpine School District area,
right?
As I recall, and the Alpine School District was getting big. It was getting much too large, and I think that the voters were asked, should it stay, should it split into 2, or should it split into 3? I don't recall exactly, but ultimately, whatever that was on the ballot, they decided to create 3 new school districts.
Yeah, 3-1. But you said voters in that district. It's not actually true. So I live in Pleasant Grove. We were not people who were party to that vote, and neither was Orem. Like our city councils didn't weigh in and didn't jump into saying we want to be, we want to have a discussion on this. So it was the other 2 that will be split off into 2 different districts that their voters got to vote on 2 or 3, and they chose 3.
So are you going to be in one of the remaining districts then?
I will be in a new district. Yes, everybody who lives there will be in a new district, but I will be in a district because of where I live. I live in Pleasant Grove, but I'm very close to American Fork, which I will not be in. And I'm very close to Cedar Hills. So right now our elementary school student goes to a Cedar Hills school. They went to, all of my other kids who went to the regular junior high went to one that is in Highland, and then the high school was American Fork High School. But now they're all of those boundaries are changing, and all of my kids, well, I only have one left, but she will go to different schools.
Well, let's bring in the Director of Communications for Alpine School District, Dr. Rich Stoll. Dr. Stoll, how badly have we butchered this morning?
Hey, Holly has studied up. This
I know.
great.
She's always like that.
She knows it all. I feel like maybe I should start asking her some questions.
No. I'm just a parent.
No, Holly's right. There will be 3 new school districts. I mean, legally speaking, there are 4 school districts four school districts that exist right now, because when voters voted last November on those propositions, it created new school districts, and then later, Holly, as you probably know, the cities of Orem and Linden and Pleasant Grove and Vineyard got together, and they did create an interlocal agreement, and so those are legal entities now, and Alpine School District will continue to operate until June 30th of 2027, at which point we will, in a moment, we will hand off all operations to those new 3 school districts, and Alpine School District will no longer exist. Largest school district in the state will no longer exist.
So if that happens in 2027, I'm confused, Dr. Stoll. Why are we voting for their school board now?
Yeah, well, because it takes a long time to get things ready for students. I mean, I feel like we're sort of on annual cycles, but really we're looking 2, 3, 5, sometimes 10 years out on these operational issues and curriculum issues. And when voters decided to create new school districts, they decided to take everything on. You know, what they want to pay teachers, what programs they want in their schools, how big they want their schools, whether or not they are going to have to build new schools. Those are a lot of issues, and so new boards really are going to have that prerogative. We owe it to those voters in those communities to let their more localized representatives make some of those decisions. And so they're going to have to hire a superintendent who will have to hire staff and decide what they want their programs to look like and what they want their teacher benefits to look like. And all of that stuff just has to be done a year or 2 ahead of time.
So, Dr. Stoll, I'm going to ask you, let's talk about the election process right now. So I mentioned there were 77 people who filed, and then I went and looked again and counted. It looks like 7 people have withdrawn, but that leaves 70 people for 21 seats. And we're at the primary deadline really coming up. So Tuesday's primary day. I opened my ballot. I have 5 people on my ballot. I can choose 1. And then these people, the 2 top vote getters, will go on to the general election, and then whoever wins in November. My understanding is they're going to immediately get to work as a school board. Is that correct?
That's our understanding, too. I think the legislature allowed, in this specific instance, allowed them to take their seats earlier than they normally would, so they can get to the business of organizing a new school district. I mean, this is really historic, isn't it, to elect that many school board members all at once and then ask them, hey, just go create a new school district and do everything that's required to make it successful in about 18 months. So the more time they have, the better. And of course, they're not going to be doing it in a vacuum. There's lots of talent and lots of expertise here in Alpine School District that we hope they will draw upon. Many of our current sitting board members are also running for those new school boards. So there will be a lot of experience there, but they do need time. And so we anticipate that those new boards will be seated before the end of the year. So between the election in November and Christmas, they'll probably get to work.
Dr. Stoll, have the 3 districts been defined? By that I mean, do we know what schools will be in which district?
Yes, we know exactly what the boundaries are. They are municipal boundaries. They follow those city boundaries of those communities. So if a school is in that district right now, we know it probably won't move. It's hard to move a big building. So we know all of the schools that will be in the new districts. And so we've tried to make it easy for those employees too. We've said that the employees who work in those buildings at the time of the handover, they will just continue in the new district. And so we're trying to help movement in the district that way to make it easier on our employees. But yeah, we know the boundaries, we know the schools. We have pretty good projections of student population 5 and 10 years out. And so we're really kind of moving towards this, and our staff has a pretty good idea of what challenges those new boards will face, and so they'll be ready to hand off some ideas to them so they can make sure those new school districts are successful on day one.
I mentioned right before we brought you on that where we live in Pleasant Grove, our children were in 3 different cities for their schools. So Cedar Hills for one, and then Highland, and then American Fork. Even though we were also close to Lone Peak and we're also close to Pleasant Grove High School, but the closest was American Fork. So that all changes for our family. But you mentioned, and I'd like to go back to this if you don't mind, what kind of training is there anything in place for these new school boards? You may have, people who transition over who already have experience, but I'm imagining if you're new to a school board and your first task is hiring a superintendent, who's going to train you to do that?
That is a really good question. We hope that the voters will choose people who have good values, who have good vision, who have a good track record of leadership in their community, and priorities that we think are going to help students learn, right? But really, each school board is an independent body. They can determine how they want to govern and what steps they want to take to reshape a district. And so we'll see. It's exciting. The really cool part of this is you have so many people talking about what public education requires, and that's really a unique opportunity. I mean, some of these school election boards in normal cycles can be kind of sleepy. They're kind of afterthoughts, right, to the bigger ticket elections. But we're really excited that people are out talking about what it means to run a school district, what a school district really requires in terms of funding or priorities or values or vision. And so I think ultimately that will result in solid school board members, and ultimately it'll result in good outcomes for our students.
Dr. Stoll, I need a favor. Can you stick around for one more segment?
I would be happy to.
Oh,
Thank
you're
you.
a hero. Okay, we'll be right back with Dr. Rich Stoll, Director of Communications, Alpine School District, to finish this conversation.
Can you believe it?
Touchdown! Stayed inside the boundary.
24 days until opening kickoff. This is your home for BYU football. Plus, breaking news and weather every morning. Listen for Andy and Amanda each morning when you get in the car. And Jeff Kaplan on the drive home on KSL News Radio.
You've lived with the pain long enough. The missed meals, covered smiles, the moments you've avoided because of your teeth. If you're living with missing or broken teeth or struggling with dentures, take your life back. Stubbs Dental Implant Center has helped thousands reclaim their health, confidence, and joy with permanent dental implants. What do Stubbs Dental patients say?
I'm no longer in pain, and I can finally be myself again after getting dental implants. I just wish I would have gone to Stubbs Dental sooner.
I was at a denture for 10 years before I got dental implants. My life has completely changed thanks to Stubbs Dental.
You know, I hated looking at myself in the mirror. Getting dental implants from Stubbs Dental has been life-changing.
As a 3-time Best of State winner with over 2,500 5-star Google reviews, Stubbs Dental doesn't just fix teeth, they change lives. Visit StubbsDental.com today to reserve your free consultation. A $350 value completely free. StubbsDental.com.
Did you hear? A recent stash of $10 gold Liberty coins from the 1800s has been found. These gorgeous gold coins are as bright and shiny as the day they were struck in the late 1800s, and less than 200 of these gold coins are available. Coin experts are calling this gold find an incredible opportunity. Call 1-800-917-4635, and you are guaranteed a $10 gold Liberty coin minted by the U.S. Mint in the 1800s. But with extremely limited availability, you must call now. These gold Liberty coins from the 1800s are still in uncirculated condition. That is history you can hold in your hand. To learn more, call 1-800-917-4635. Call now and you'll receive a free American Coin Collector's Bonus Package, a $40 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-917-4635 now to secure your $10 gold Liberty coins dated from the 1800s before they sell out. That's 1-800-917-4635.
Many people worry they're not making the right investment choices inside their 401ks. Did you know that you might have a little-known opportunity to add some additional investment choices to your 401k and get the help and recommendations you've been looking for? This exciting feature is called a self-directed brokerage window. And the best part? The money still stays within your 401k. Learn how the trusted advisors at Capital Wealth may be able to expand your investment portfolio. To learn more, call or text the word VISIT to 801-877-9800 or go to CapitalWealth401k.com. Improving your 401k might mean the difference of retiring a few years earlier. Let's find out. Schedule your no-cost 15-minute consultation with the Capital Wealth team today. Call or text the word VISIT to 801-877-9800 or go to CapitalWealth401k.com. Advisory services offered through Capital Wealth Advisors, LLC, a state of Utah registered investment advisor.
Over the years, you've brought them into your home. You were prescribed opioids after the C-section and after Dad's back injury. They helped when you were in pain, and you held on to them just in case. But did you know holding on to unused opioids puts your family at risk? Trouble with opioids can start at home with unused medicines such as pills, patches, and syrups. You can remove the risk and protect your family. Find out how at www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Inside Sources.
Welcome back to Inside Sources, and we are back with our guest from Alpine School District. Doctor, let me ask you a question about the boundaries, and I just want to make sure that I have everything right. We're talking with Dr. Rich Stoll, Director of Communications. The boundaries will follow city lines. So, for example, I'm looking at one of the specific boundaries, which is the Timpanogos District. Pleasant Grove, Linden, Vineyard, and Orem. If you're in those cities, you're in that district. Is it that simple?
It's that simple. And this is because really the legal mechanism that created these new school districts was an agreement among those cities to form a new school district from Alpine School District. This was not a decision of the Alpine School District Board of Education, although at the time, for a couple of years they were studying it. But about a year and a half ago, the legislature created an easier path for those cities to come to an agreement to make a new school district. And so that's what happened in the cities of Lehigh, American Fork, and up in that central area of our district. They got together, created they formed this compact to put this proposition on the ballot, and then the municipalities out west did the same thing. And so those two propositions went to ballot last November, kind of leaving Pleasant Grove, Orem, Linden Vineyard out of it. So and then a few weeks later, they also formed an interlocal agreement to create a new school district.
So, Dr. Stoll, let me ask you this question. We actually had a texter ask us this, and I am wondering as well. What about either like the Dan Peterson School or alternative high school programs within Alpine School District right now? What happens with them?
Our board is deeply concerned about those students who they get lots of great services and great education experiences because of our size. Our board is looking at ways to make sure that those experiences remain available to students across the three new school districts. Now, Dan Peterson, for your listeners' benefit, is a school that serves students with extreme special needs. It takes a lot of training. It's hard to find teachers sometimes for those students. And so there's a lot of resources that go in, far and above the typical per pupil cost to provide education for a student. And so because of our scale, we're able to do that across one district and have that at one school. It'll be a challenge for these new school districts to provide similar experiences across the board. There might be some difficult choices that they have to make, but our board is committed to making that available to them. And there's always options about shared services and contracting with other districts to maintain that scale.
Okay. Let's go back to the election. So people should have their ballots at this point. What do you want voters in Alpine School District to know about this election?
Well, the first thing they need to know is that their ballot has to be received by August 12th. So get that ballot in. Don't wait till August 12th to go mail it. It might not count. So get it in a ballot drop box. Make sure your vote is recorded. The other thing is go talk to people who are running for school board and find out what they want. The reasons for voting in favor of one of these propositions to create a new school district, the reasons are varied, right? So residents need to really decide what they want. Do they want super low taxes and bare bones schools and programs, or do they want lots of programs, and we know that those come at a cost? We know that one of the drivers out west was probably facilities. So what kind of schools do you want? Do you want, big, beautiful schools? Do you want modern facilities? What do those facilities look like? And then staffing is always a big thing. Sometimes it's really hard to find great teachers. We've been able to do that in Alpine School District for many, many years. Our school district is a destination for teachers because we pay well, we offer good benefits, and probably more than anything, we have very robust systems of support and professional development. So we build these learning communities that teachers really love. And school board members are going to have to commit to whether they want to do that. So it's more than just, passing a vote on a tax increase once every couple of years. It's really about understanding what students need in today's day and age. We live in a different world than when you and I went to elementary and high school. The world's changing. The requirements for producing an educated workforce are changing. And these school boards really need to understand what is available and what they can do with those resources. So get into those conversations, I would think, in ways that go deeper than what you might have normally talked about your kid's school around the kitchen table.
Dr. Stoll, you have to be pleased, and maybe secondarily, what do you make of the fact that you've got 70 people running for these school board positions? I mean, that's, I don't know, to me that's exciting. That's good.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's really cool. People are talking about public education, and we love that. The discussion out there, sometimes it can get a little heated, and they always say, "What's the maxim?" There's, all politics is local. I think that's great. That's what we want. I mean, I can't think of anything more important than how we educate our kids, and school boards really have a lot of influence there. The other thing that comes to mind is, I'm a parent, I have kids in schools, and we're kind of looking at what's happening this week, this month. And the teachers might be looking at what's happening this year, and the principals might be worried about a year or 2 or 3. School boards are really setting the foundation for 5, 10, even 20 years into the future. So this is a really historic election, and the fact that so many people are interested in those conversations is really exciting to us, and I think it bodes well for the future of public education in this part of our state.
Yeah, thank you. You mentioned tax increases, and I've got to ask you questions.
I opened the door there, huh?
You did. So, yes. So I know Alpine School District last night approved a tax increase. I will pay that for you. Thank you. But tell us about that. Why now? Why is Alpine School District approving a tax increase right now?
Well, the main reason is because we're growing. We have to build facilities out west. Now, all these funds are fungible, and if you listened to the board meeting last night, you would have learned that we have money to build those schools out in the western part of our district that are required. We just broke ground on a new high school that has been needed for a long time. Our high schools are at capacity out there. Actually, they're above capacity. And we have several elementary schools that, we just cannot build fast enough. So many houses are going up in Eagle Mountain. Probably by the time this conversation's over, we might need another school out there. But so those pressures exist, and they continue to exist. And during this period of transition, our board really felt that it was important to give as much flexibility to new boards of education so that they could focus on programs and teacher hiring and not have to worry about, not have to go through kind of the political minefield of figuring out how to fund all of those things that residents are going to expect of their new school districts.
Dr. Stoll, we started the show today with a sort of a contentious school board meeting out west in Tooele County. How did yours go?
It went as expected. We had, I think we had around 20 folks who commented publicly. We love hearing from our constituents. Many of them were opposed to the tax increase. What we heard from some of our board members is a real intent to listen. It was not a unanimous vote to increase those taxes, but our board unanimously said we appreciate the feedback. I think they do take seriously their responsibility to listen to voters and they listen in a variety of ways. The public hearing is one of them, but I know our board members are so committed to making sure these new school districts get started on the right foot. They're talking to hundreds of people a week, and what they're reporting back is that people want a continuity of the excellent education they've been getting with the schools that Alpine has administered up to now. And nobody that I've ever talked to has ever argued with the fact that we have excellent schools in Alpine School District. We have wonderful teachers, we have wonderful administrators, and all the voters, they want to see that continue, and it takes resources. And we know that public education requires an investment. Our board doesn't take that lightly, and they appreciate all of and especially you, Holly, they appreciate the tax revenue that comes from hardworking voters in our school district.
So in 10 seconds, how are those funds going to be divvied up when the split happens?
On a per capita basis, by the number of students in each school district.
Hey, thank you for joining us today.
That was wonderful, and he did it in 10 seconds or less.
He did.
That was Dr. Rick Stoll from the Alpine School District. We've been talking about education, and our own Congressman Burgess Owens has an innovative idea on educating inmates, who he hopes can then go back to alleviate some of the labor force shortages. Stay with us.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story: emotions were heated last night at Tooele High School as members of the public spoke out against a proposed property tax increase. The Tooele County School District wants to increase property tax revenue by around 8%, which would cost many families about $300 more per year.
And I don't know what else to say except we don't want a tax increase. You do not deserve to get any more tax.
Many residents claim the district isn't being transparent about how these new funds would be spent. The district says it needs the $9.25 million to stabilize its finances and maintain the current salaries for teachers. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. We are monitoring reports of a shooting at Fort Stewart in Georgia. Schools in the area were put on lockdown. Officials at the base posted on social media that the shots were fired in the 2nd Armored Brigade combat team area, and people were injured. CNN is reporting the shooter is no longer a threat, but no further details were given. We will continue to monitor the situation and bring you updates throughout the morning. Your money at this moment. The Dow right now is up 105 points. We're at 44,217. Coming up, breezy and hot today. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:31. Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
There's a photo my wife took of me, sitting crisscross on the floor playing Legos with my boys. Might not sound like much, but back in 2020, I couldn't get down there without pain, let alone enjoy it. After 16 weeks on soda and 82 pounds gone, that picture means everything. It's proof that I'm not just present in my kid's life, but I'm active, engaged, and I'm healthy. Soda didn't just give me a plan. They gave me a partner, a personal nutritionist who helped me every step. Through grocery store trips, family vacations, late night cravings, you name it. If you're a parent who wants to be there, not just someday, but right now, go to sodaweightloss.com. Click the Request a Nutritionist callback. That's sodaweightloss.com. SOTA stands for state of the art. sodaweightloss.com.
Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
Summer is the perfect time for a refresh. Maybe you're taking time off from school, hitting the road for a well-earned vacation, or just soaking up the sunshine in your own backyard. This summer, give it the same fresh start with Zero-Res carpet and air duct cleaning. Right now, Zero-Res is offering an unbeatable summer deal. Get 3 rooms of carpet clean for just $129 and take 15% off air duct cleaning while you're at it. Zero Res cleans with their patented ZR water, which means no soaps, no harsh chemicals, and no crunchy residue left behind. So whether you're cleaning up from summer adventures or just want a home that feels as fresh as it looks, now's the time. Get 3 rooms of carpet clean for just $129 and take 15% off air duct cleaning while you're at it. Book your appointment today at ZeroRes.com. Spelled the same forward or backward. ZeroRes is the right way to clean.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's My Style checking account. And here is Heather Kelly.
Well, things looking good all across the Wasatch Front now, especially on major freeways. No real delays. I-15 either direction. Just some brake lights occasionally southbound between Kaysville and Farmington, where we have the lane restrictions in place. We do have an accident, though, in Murray. This is on 40. It's actually on 300 East. All northbound and southbound lanes are blocked right now on 4500 South at 3rd East. But the crash is in the final cleanup stages. We have a tow truck on the scene trying to move one of the cars that's on top of the sidewalk. Step back in time at the Utah Renaissance Fair, August 22nd and 23rd. Enjoy exotic foods, performers, and artesian treasures. Get your tickets now at utahrenfair.org. Let the adventure begin. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Breezy and hot today with a predicted high of 99 degrees in Salt Lake City. The wind will stick around through Friday, which brings with it elevated fire danger. Right now, it is 90 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
So as we headed into the break, Greg told us that Representative Burgess Owens wants Utah to lead the way on addressing a national labor shortage, and he wants to do it by using Utah's prison workforce program as an example, which the very first thing I thought of, this is bad of me, the very first thing I thought of is he wants to take inmates and he wants to put them in the fields picking strawberries.
Yeah, and he's probably not going to get too far with that. But we do think, and we've seen in history in this country, where inmates have served the public in terms of working, in terms of doing something, getting out in the community. We have they used to have, I don't know if they still exist, the flamingos, the prison inmates that would go out on fires, and they did a great job. I don't know whether that group still exists, but it's not uncommon to try to get inmates into the workforce in some way. There are even some shops and things out at the prison where people can learn carpentry and things like that.
Well, I was incorrect. He's actually talking about providing educational programs within the prison system so that when the inmates are released, then they're able to go right into the workforce.
That makes more sense.
Yeah, it makes me more comfortable also because one of the issues that we know with using quote unquote these chain gangs or prison inmates to do work is they're getting paid like 25 cents an hour or something ridiculously low, right? And that is a form of indentured servitude. So anyway, we have on the line with us Cami Mondo, and she's the congressional correspondent for the Deseret News. She wrote about this idea from Representative Owens. Thanks for joining us, Cami.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Will you just start by telling us just an overview of what Congressman Owens sees that Utah is doing well and how he wants to take that to Washington?
Absolutely. So while he was in town, this week, because Congress is out on their break, he took a tour of the state correctional facility to kind of see how their workforce program works and kind of how they're prepping these inmates for release, after they're done. So he was kind of highlighting to me a few of the, they have like classes and seminars where they can learn skills like, responding to high pressure situations or things like that. But they also have these things where they go through apprenticeships where, inmates who have release dates can actually go through a program for several months before they're supposed to leave. They can learn skills like customer service or graphic design or even machining. He mentioned welding a couple times. So it's stuff that they can have these skills and learn how to hold jobs. So when they are released, they can hopefully go straight into the workforce rather than having to start from scratch when they are released.
Cami, it would make sense that we also have facilities at our correctional institutions, the prisons, so that, let's say, you're going to teach welding. You've got to have a welding shop. And So you've got to put together something like that. You've got to have a facility so people can go in and work on it. Did he talk about how we're going to build those kind of things?
So he didn't really go into specifics on, like how we provide those resources, but he said that as he walked through the tour, it took about 2.5 hours on Monday, that he kind of walked through, and you could see that these inmates were having hands-on experience with these different skill sets that they needed to use. There also are ways on the correctional facility website that different companies and businesses can actually work with the prison to kind of either hire people straight out of prison or kind of provide these trainings. And so there's, real hands-on experience that they can learn the job before they leave. And so that's kind of like this big idea that Utah does, that he's hoping that, people from back in D.C. and other states can hopefully emulate in their own states on a national level.
So my question, Cammie, is we keep talking, Republicans love to talk about local control and states' rights. What is Congressman Owens thinking that he can do on a national level, especially with legislation?
Absolutely. And so he was telling me that this tour that he took was kind of the beginning of this process of thinking about how he could take this idea and go back to D.C. It's not entirely clear, or maybe he hasn't made up his mind if this is something he wants to do on a federal level, or maybe he wants to go back and just get other state lawmakers thinking about how they can go back to their own states, their own districts, and kind of create similar programs. He told me he was just in the beginning stages of thinking about what he could do in terms of legislation or oversight. So that part hasn't really been figured out yet. I think once he's back in D.C., he just wants to start these conversations, and he said he would, keep updating on how that goes.
Cammie, this is maybe more of a rhetorical question than a real question, but we have had in the prison system educational programs historically where you can get a GED, and if you're there long enough, you can actually get an associate's degree or get some college credits. But we haven't looked at, and I think this is where the congressman is going, trades, a trade certificate or a trade training, maybe more focused on education, just because I guess it's hard to get facilities there. But this seems to be a pretty smart shift because the workforce is hurting in those areas. And I assume that the congressman is recognizing, hey, we've got a shortage of, say, welders, and we've got a shortage of mechanics. We've got a shortage of things that are really important right now that maybe our colleges and universities aren't filling enough, and we can start educating inmates in ways and training them to do these kind of jobs.
Absolutely. And, I've talked to Owens before, in the months previous. He's introduced different kinds of legislation where, as you said, he's really trying to highlight these skill-based fields where, maybe offering alternatives to education or 4-year degrees, 2-year degrees for those who don't really want to go through that process and they would rather go into skill-based fields. But I think this is just another part of that, branching off to, keep adding to those efforts. Because he has talked about that a lot before, that these skill-based careers, we do have a real shortage. And, to address that, maybe we look at people who maybe are overlooked for other opportunities, and we can give that to those who right when they are released.
You mentioned, Greg, that there's programs already that exist. And Cammie, I'm wondering if Congressman Owens, is he looking at the whole broad picture? Is he looking at work release for inmates who are currently incarcerated, or is he really just focused on after release?
It seems with this program and the conversations that I've had, it really is focused right now on after release, that, once they finish their sentences and are released out there, they can just have a jump start already, especially because there are concerns sometimes that when inmates are released and they don't have opportunities to go anywhere, they'll just be arrested again later down the road. So I think that's probably his focus right now, is just to give them an opportunity to get a head start once they are released rather than once they're in. That could change, of course, but for right now, it seems like it's right after they're released.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. It's Cammie Mondeaux again that we've been speaking with. And, Greg, one of the things that I'm interested in, if you remember earlier in our show, and we're almost to our 2-month mark, but we talked with the Utah County Commissioner who is trying to make it easier for inmates in the Utah County Jail to get their food handler's permit, because they actually have the ability to, they cook. They teach the inmates culinary skills. They cook there at the jail, but those meals, not only do they feed inmates and correctional officers, but they actually send them out to Meals on Wheels in the community.
Yeah, and I think and I'm biased, I guess, because I worked in the system for 43 years, but one of the failings of our prison system is that it often acts as more of a warehouse situation rather than a process for reintegration. When we talk about our juvenile facilities, we're always educating. We got to get these kids back. We got to get them back doing something progressive. But sometimes with our adult population, it's a matter of let's just keep them off the streets for some period of time.
Yeah.
And I've talked to a lot of inmates who come out of prison and who go back and they say, I didn't have anything to do. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm in prison. I didn't learn anything. I get back. I go back to my same lifestyle, my same homies, my same group.
Yeah.
I get in the same problems. And that's not the prison system's fault at all. It's their fault. It's 100% their fault. But the prison can help them by teaching them a skill. If you can walk out of prison and with a degree in diesel mechanics or welding or any of the skills right now that we're really short on in this country and make a really good wage, then maybe you don't go back to drug culture. Maybe you don't go back to robbing stores or doing things where you're not making, the chances of getting caught override the chance of making much money. But if you give some of these people an opportunity to support themselves and support their families, maybe they'll take advantage of it.
Look, I have to give a shout out to the Other Side Academy because they're an organization in Utah that is doing this with inmates, and they're giving them real world experience, but also teaching them skills and how to get along with people that they normally or previously would not have even talked to. But we have movers. We have the Other Side Village, I think, the small homes that they're building. There's, I think there's bakery, right? There's a bakery or donuts. Anyway, the Other Side Academy is really doing a fantastic job, so shout out to them.
Yeah, and good for Congressman Owens to have an idea, and hopefully something will come of this. We talked earlier about the National Attorneys General Association's attempt to have some teeth in the fight against offshore gambling, and we talked about Utah's own Attorney General Derek Brown leading that effort. We're going to be joined by Attorney General Brown after this break to talk about what's in it for Utah and why he's involved in this.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, we're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Omada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy-downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Omada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to thesternteam.com. That's thesternteam.com, or Google The Stern Team.
Respiratory virus season is quickly approaching, meaning we'll see more flu, COVID, and RSV in our community. The good news is vaccines are available that will help prevent these infections and keep people healthy. For flu and COVID, everyone aged 6 months and older are recommended to be vaccinated to help protect ourselves and our families against serious illness. Fall remains the best time to be vaccinated. Respiratory viruses circulate year-round, but peak late fall through winter. Your doctor can recommend which vaccines are best for you and your family.
Brought to you by Intermountain Health and KSL News Radio.
Do you know why more homeowners choose Any Hour Services for help when it's time to replace their air conditioners? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and the main reasons people choose Any Hour Services is because of our people, processes, and convenience. People tell us all the time that there's just something different about having an Any Hour Services technician in their home. That's why most of our over 18,000 Google reviews mention our technicians by name. Another reason is our 7-step install process that we call the Any Hour Difference. It all starts with the needs analysis, where you explain what you like and dislike about your current system. This helps us design and size a system that fits your comfort and efficiency preferences as well as your home's airflow requirements. As for convenience, most of our installs are completed in one day. We also have flexible, no-money-down financing options available, even if you've been told no in the past. So if you've been thinking about getting a new air conditioner, call Any Hour Services and schedule a free estimate today. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Most of us like to be out in the sun. That's why sunscreen and other safety measures are key to protecting your skin from aging and cancer. The FDA recommends using a sunscreen with a sun protection factor, or SPF, of 15 or higher. Also, look for broad spectrum on the label. That means both harmful ultraviolet A and B rays are blocked. UVA rays age the skin, UVB rays burn, and both cause cancer. But the perfect sunscreen doesn't count if you use it wrong. Don't need sunscreen on a cloudy day? Wrong. 80% of UV rays still get through the haze. Only use sunscreen at the beach? Nope. Anytime you're outside, UV rays attack the skin, so you need protection. And you have to reapply sunscreen every 2 hours. Remember, SPF plus broad spectrum equal healthy fun in the sun. Visit www.fda.gov/sunscreen for more information. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Hi, Grandma. Can Nina come over for dinner?
Sure. I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink?
Grandma?
If anyone ever does, I want you to say, no, I have too much respect for my family and I don't want to get in trouble.
I promise, Grandma.
They really do hear you. For tips on what to say, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and this station.
And expanded Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
We spoke earlier about offshore gambling setups and how popular they are, and the fact that now all 50 attorneys general for the country have gotten together. Every time I talk to Derek Brown, I get tongue-tied. But we're going to talk to Derek about why Utah's involved with this and what they're doing.
It's because he's such a celebrity. So thanks for joining us, Attorney General Brown.
It's very rare I get called a celebrity, especially by my teenage kids. But I appreciate that. And I appreciate you covering this issue, by the way, because there's a lot of like the partisan stuff that gets covered a lot, but this is one of those really interesting, bipartisan issues where AGs. I led a group of AGs across the country, and this is literally almost every state in the country.
So tell us, just reset it for our listeners. What is this? What did you just send? What's this letter, and why?
Well, let me start with this. One of the things that, my job as Attorney General is to protect citizens of our state and protect the most vulnerable populations. And nothing gets me angrier than when a group of individuals does it in a way that leaves us powerless to do anything because we don't have the jurisdiction. And so in this case, there are a lot of these offshore gaming accounts that are operating online, but they don't have any of the protections that the legal ones do. And they're not legal in Utah, by the way, but there are a lot of people in Utah and all across the country, which is why we have 50 different attorneys general on this issue. And a lot of the protections that are in place just don't exist. And so when problems happen, and these organizations that run them out of foreign countries are involved in money laundering or trafficking or just cybersecurity issues that impact people in Utah, there's very little we can do. And so this is our effort to partner with the federal government and really go after these people where it hurts in places like the payment processing, because there's an impact on these illegal offshore gaming sites. I mean, a lot of states, for a lot of states, it is legal. In Utah, it is not. But whether it's legal or not, it is a problem, particularly because they're operating in a place where we don't have jurisdiction.
So what do we think that the federal government can do? And I love this letter, Derek. I really do. And I appreciate what you're doing because gambling is a scourge. But what is it that you're asking the federal government to do?
Well, what we're doing is partnering with the Department of Justice specifically to identify who they are, where they're operating, and then do things like work in tandem with the payment processors. So you've got the payment processors like Visa and MasterCard who realize that this is a problem and they've agreed to be part of a network that is going after them. But part of it is also an awareness campaign. Because a lot of the legal online gaming operations and websites have protections in place, things like age verification so kids can't do it, or limits on losses, or access to help for people who are addicted and can't stop. These offshore gaming sites have none of that. And so that's what makes them so nefarious. And so you also have things like cybersecurity risks where they can hack your data. We've seen ransomware attacks. We've seen cyber threats. We've seen, the kinds of protections that a legitimate organization would have in place that these offshore ones don't. Not to mention, just to be crass, but these offshore folks, they don't pay taxes. And the ones that are here locally or domestically do. So anyway, our hope is to partner with the federal government. We're bringing this to their attention. And the reality is when you got an attorney general or two on an issue, you can make a huge impact. When you have 50 together, as you know, I've put together this coalition with William Tong, who is the attorney general in Connecticut. And when you've got 50 attorneys general together, sending this kind of a message to the federal government and to the DOJ, we can move mountains, and we intend to on this issue.
So I am not a gambler. I don't really know a lot about it. Tell me, if you are somebody who is choosing to engage in online gambling, how do you know if it's one that is domestically based or one that's offshore?
Yeah, that's a great question.
That's part of the problem too, I think. Right?
Well, yes, that is part of the problem. It's hard to know. And I mean, there are some legitimate ones, and without naming them publicly or naming the illegitimate ones, I mean, I will say that for the most part, in Utah, they are not legal. There are 38 states in the country that allow sports betting. Utah is not one of them. There are seven states that allow online casinos and poker, and of course, Utah is not one of those either. But it's the online casinos and poker sites that we're most concerned about. And so I know there's some other states that are looking at doing it, and I think some of them may look at it from a revenue standpoint. I mean, I don't ever anticipate that will be an issue in Utah. So if you're in Utah, you can't do it anyway. But a lot of the checks on these sites just don't exist on these offshore. If it's based in Panama or in the Caribbean or China, there's very little that we can do as an organization. I mean, as AG, if there is a domestic organization doing something like this or something, operating in the state of Utah, by the close of business today, I could do something about it and put something in motion. But if they're based in Panama, I can't. And so what we need is federal tools to help us really drill down and hit these folks where it hurts, which is primarily things like their payment processors. But even that's tricky because a lot of them are using crypto. And so we need to outsmart them and do it in a way that protects people.
You mentioned earlier that you've got 50 attorneys general on board with this, and like you say, you can move mountains with that. Have you? And I know the letter was just sent yesterday, but what do you expect to be the response from the Department of Justice, or have you had any yet?
Not yet, but we will, and I will be going back to D.C. shortly. We'll be meeting with them, and my hope is that in subsequent meetings we can create, if not a task force, a working group to address the issue. Because one of the biggest things I have found in like virtually every area of the law. I mean, I just moments ago did a panel that I moderated for a group of attorneys general, and it was on the impacts of drugs and what we're seeing in Utah. And the issue we have is just coordination and communication, and we can solve so many of these issues if we can just open up the channels of communication and talk about things like fentanyl. In this case, what I want to do is two things. Number one, bring it to everyone's attention because this is a huge problem. But number two, open up those channels of communication. And we have folks in the Department of Justice that my team in the Attorney General's office has worked with. And so our hope is to open up those channels, and the more that we can talk about it and then coordinate, the more that we can do something about it. Because really the answer is just coordinating. I think we have the tools between 50 states and the federal government. We have the tools to address this, but until we make it an issue and open up those channels of communication, there's not a whole lot we can do.
Thank you for joining us today again. That we were speaking with Attorney General Derek Brown.
And it's so refreshing to have a conversation where we have bipartisan support for an issue.
And not just one or two.
Right, yeah, nearly unanimous. So when a group like that gets together, and he said it and I repeated it, you can do a lot. And the Department of Justice is absolutely going to sit up and take notice when we get a group of 50 attorneys general throughout the country that are concerned about a singular issue that's very well defined and saying, hey, we need to stop this problem and we want your help.
Yeah.
The federal government's going to help them out.
Yeah, I believe that. And we already know that Visa and MasterCard have said, yeah, we're going to help you too.
Yeah, and that's where you've got to stop it. If you can stop the money from leaving,
that's right.
If you've got groups like that are behind you and saying, "Hey, don't worry, we're not going to be part of this," you're going to go a long way. When we come back after the break, Utah family blogger Ruby Frank and therapist Jody Hildebrand are serving time in prison for child abuse after their arrest in 2023. Now Ruby's ex-husband has filed a lawsuit against Hildebrand, accusing her of medical malpractice. We have the lawsuit here, and we're going to be talking about that next.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
KSL News Time, 11 o'clock. I'm Becky Bruce. KSL's top story this hour. We have some breaking news for you. The person suspected of shooting multiple people at Fort Stewart in Georgia is now in police custody. CNN reporting 5 people were shot, and the extent of the injuries are unclear at this time. Police say there is no longer a threat to the community. We'll, of course, continue to monitor the situation and provide updates as we get them. Emotions heated last night in Tooele at the high school as members of the public spoke out against a proposed property tax increase. The Tooele County School District wants to increase property tax revenue by just over 8%, which would cost many families just under $300 more per year.
And I don't know what else to say except we don't want a tax increase. You do not deserve to get any more tax.
Many residents claim the district isn't being transparent about the use of those new funds. The district says it needs $9.25 million to stabilize its finances and maintain current salaries for teachers. The Alpine School District has approved a tax increase designed to help prepare for the upcoming district split. The school board says that extra money will serve as startup funds for the 3 districts that will result. Coming up, it's shaping up to be another scorcher out there. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time is 11:02.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Worried about market losses? If headlines are keeping you up at night, it's time to take control. Hi, I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, and I know you've worked hard to save. But in times like these, what if can turn into what now? If you're planning to retire or are in retirement, you need a strategy that helps protect your future. At Trajan Wealth, you can capture market gains, protect your account from losses, and guarantee income for life. Right now, you could receive a bonus of up to 30% or annual growth of up to 10% for retirement income. You heard me right. An upfront bonus of up to 30% or annual growth of up to 10%, all guaranteed to boost your lifetime income in retirement. Don't leave your future to chance. Plan with confidence. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600.
Annuity guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company, DBA, in most states as Trajan Wealth Insurance Solutions.
3 days only, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Save thousands on hot tubs and swim spas. 2 area locations, Salt Lake at Southtown Mall in the Big White Tent, and St. George at Washington County Legacy Park. Major manufacturers liquidation of new 2025 spas, discounted up to 40 to 80%. We have spas to fit any backyard or budget. Free professional delivery, instant on-site financing. 2 area locations, Salt Lake at Southtown Mall in the Big White Tent, and St. George at Washington County Legacy Park. Transform your backyard with a swim spa for the fraction of the price of a pool. The easiest way to exercise or relax in your backyard. Just fill and chill. Shockingly low monthly payments. Don't miss this opportunity to build the backyard of your dreams. See the latest models in person. 3 days only, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 2 area locations, Salt Lake at Southtown Mall in the Big White Tent, and St. George at Washington County Legacy Park. Learn more online at HotTubAndSwimSpaSale.com. HotTubAndSwimSpaSale.com.
Texting enrolls you into reoccurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The key ingredient is something called Tesnor, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again. At work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text ALL to 321-321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast. Absolutely free. Text ALL to 321-321. That's ALL to 321-321.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's MyStyle checking account. Let's check in with Heather Kelly.
We've got a new crash southbound I-15 in Orem. It's at 1600 North. The vehicles have just moved themselves over to the right shoulder. UHP has not arrived on scene yet, but it is slowing traffic down as you leave Linden and head into the Orem area. We also have debris on 2100 South. This is the City Street, 21st South, heading westbound toward I-15. It's blocking a right lane right as you go over the tracks, the railroad tracks in that area, and that is causing a little bit of backup in the area. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Sunny, smoky, and breezy and hot today. We're going to top out at 99 degrees. Tomorrow more clouds, but still windy at 98. And back to the 80s on Friday and Saturday. Right now you've got fair skies, but it's already 90 degrees out there. I'm Becky Bruce from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
We're learning about a lawsuit that has been filed by Kevin Franke against Jody Hildebrandt. And if you'll recall, Holly, Kevin Franke was the husband of Ruby Franke, who is currently in prison with Jody Hildebrandt. Jody Hildebrandt
for a
very long time for child abuse, child neglect, and just the way that they treated everyone in this situation. Kevin Franke is the husband of Ruby, and he's saying that effectively Jody Hildebrandt was acting as a medical professional, and so if you read the lawsuit, it's kind of a medical malpractice case.
That's so interesting to me. So if you want to just remind our listeners, tell us about this case.
Yeah, so this one was really interesting. Jody Hildebrandt had a group that she had set up, and she was counseling women. And I know this case fairly well because I actually represented another man who was similarly situated to Kevin Franke, but she would get women involved in these groups, and they would meet, and they would have like counseling sessions and whatnot. And what she did in this particular case, I'll just focus on the Franke case. She separated Ruby from her husband and separated and almost took control of the children themselves, to the point where they were abusing them, they were starving them, they were taking advantage of these poor kids, and they had convinced her husband, Kevin Franke, that he was not doing the right things, that he was bad, that he was he goes through this thing that they convinced him that he was, not living the doctrine of the church, not living the doctrine of what she thought was appropriate, and sort of separated him from his own children. Now, she ultimately went to prison, and his wife ultimately went to prison for the abuse that they put on these children. It was horrible what they'd done with the children in terms of their methods of punishing the kids. But he also was punished. He was separated from his children. His children were violated, and so he's filed this lawsuit against Jody Hildebrand.
Wow. So one of the things that stood out to me, I remember, hearing this as it was unfolding. It's been a couple of years now, August actually of 2023, but their 12-year-old son at the time escaped out of a window and ran to a neighbor's home down in Ivins. He had duct tape around his ankles and his wrists, and he was really malnourished. When police went to Hildebrand's home, they arrested her, and they found their daughter hiding in a closet, and took hours for her to come out. And if I remember, one of the things that really stood out to me is the little boy was apologizing. He's like, I'm so sorry, right? He was trying to take the blame.
Right. Ruby Franke ran what she called the 8 Passengers YouTube channel, showcasing her family and building a huge following on the channel.
I'm only going to say it one more time, and then you're going to lose the privilege to eat dinner.
My bedroom was taken away for 7 months, and then you give it back like a couple weeks ago.
I don't think our viewers know that.
That's what she was teaching people. And so now she's been sued by Kevin Franke. Now, you're probably wondering, why file a lawsuit against a person who's doing probably 30 years, maybe more, in prison? And there's some notion, and just sort of reading between the lines here, that Jody Hildebrand had developed some sort of an estate, had actually earned some money during her malpractice, I'll call it, and had developed some sort of an estate. So if she has, commissions or royalties from any of her writings or her books or anything like that, if she purchased property in her name or in her business name, and there's property to be had, he's going to go after that and get that. She may not have anything. I'm certain that this isn't going to be covered by insurance. I mean, I don't know that she had insurance. But what was even more interesting to me was how the attorney, his attorney actually did a very good job writing this lawsuit, characterized her as a medical professional, because she really isn't a medical professional.
So my understanding, and you're the legal expert here, the medical part that they're claiming is because she claimed or represented herself as a licensed professional, but she wasn't in fact licensed. Is that correct?
Exactly. So she held herself out as having a professional licensing, credentials, reputation, and education as a licensed clinical mental health and care professional. And she said that she even referred to herself, and I'm reading the lawsuit here, as a psychologist, and led them to believe it. So they actually believed it. And there's some police interrogation where she describes herself that way. So it wasn't just lying to her clients or her patients or people that were paying her. She lied to everyone about her credentials.
My understanding is psychologists like a PhD level.
Right.
And she was more of a life coach, which I think is one of the things that Utah's legislature is looking at and say, look, you can't hold yourself out as somebody who's this licensed professional, right? Where you're doing life coaching, quote unquote.
Right. So and she also was doing something that he's just described in his lawsuit here as diagnosing, saying, okay, here is your problem. So that's not something you can do without some credentials.
That is correct.
Give someone a diagnosis.
So I can speak to that one, actually. It is the practice of medicine in Utah. If you diagnose, prescribe, or treat for something that could be considered within the medical purview, right, and it can be anything, unless there's a specific carve-out, and there are a few, including midwives, you cannot diagnose, prescribe, or treat.
Yeah, so this enterprise, Hildebrand's group, really got quite big, and I think that she felt that she was invincible, and that she had such a great following, and that she was doing such good and important work that she was just going to continue to get followers and convince people to give her money, and that she was doing them good. But it all blew up on her eventually, because, like you say, it only takes these children to break out of that system and say, hey, there's something bad going on here. And then the police start doing an investigation. And in this case, the investigation became much more, I'm sure when they found the first child who was upset saying, hey, there's stuff going on in this house, nobody expected what they were going to find.
Right.
And it got to the point where, I mean, you don't even want to get into the details, but what was happening to these kids was just horrific.
Remind me, though, wasn't Hildebrandt living with Ruby Franke at the time?
Yes. So she did this routinely as a part of her practice, where she would separate couples and sort of put the man in the doghouse. Like, you're bad, you're a pervert, you have these problems, we're going to work on those. And she took his wife in and his children in to her place and effectively raised them and excluded him from their lives, at least according to his lawsuit, believing that this was part of the medical treatment, part of what he needed to go through, because he was, he had lustful thoughts and things like that, and she was trying to, I guess, arguably cure him of that. But
so she must have had plenty of assets, because she had a $5 million home in Ivins.
Right. Yes. And I'm sure that he's very interested in that. The lawsuit's filed in 4th District, but it's something that, I mean, maybe there's some assets. Who knows? Maybe she's hidden them. We don't know that either. But we do know that she's not going to be using that home anytime soon.
So time frame? Are we looking at months here?
Oh, this case could go on for a long time. Now, it depends on what her level of fighting is. Is she going to hire a lawyer and fight the lawsuit? If so, it could go for years. Is she just going to say,
broke now,
yeah,
right?
Do whatever you want and take your judgment. I'm never going to pay it. The lawsuit could be wrapped up in a month or two. So, I know that's sad to say. I also think, just from what I know about this, that there are going to be other cases brought. I think other men are going to see what happened here.
Well,
Excuse me.
I can see a class action suit.
Yeah, and bring their own. And it wouldn't surprise me at all.
Well, look, we're going to transition again. The Orrin G. Hatch Foundation is coming to town. They're going to give Senator Tom Cotton their Titan of Public Service Award tomorrow night in Salt Lake City. The foundation's executive director is going to join us next. Remember, we are streaming live at KSLNewsRadio.com and on the app for KSL News Radio, which is sponsored by At Your Service Pros. We'll come back in just a minute.
Listen to KSL for the new and traditional content you've always loved. There's the new Inside Sources, expanded from 9 to noon, and new expanded news coverage with Maria Chaleos on midday, noon to 3. And of course, the news and weather from voices you love, mornings and afternoons. Here are new traditions and the familiar ones on KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
I am not a rich woman, but I feel like a rich woman every time I go in my closet. The best, hands down, present I've ever received was my husband secretly redid my closet with Closets by Design. So now when I go in there aren't all these shoes just junked on the floor. They're neatly sitting on their shelves. And my necklaces are hanging on their individual hooks, and earrings are in their little squares in this soft drawer that pulls out. It's just gorgeous. In fact, he saw how much I loved it. He had Closets by Design redo the garage. So now all the stuff, the tools, the toys, the junk is all in cabinets. When you open our garage door, you see cars. That's it. It's amazing. The things that Closets by Design can do, and it's going to save you money right now because you get up to 40% off plus an additional 15% off with 18-month financing. You can do so much with your closet, much more than you realize, with this wonderful Utah company, Closets by Design. Find out more at 1-800-BY-DESIGN or closetsbydesign.com.
I didn't just lose 82 pounds in 16 weeks. I lost fear. I lost shame. I lost that nagging voice in my head that told me I couldn't do it. I thought weight loss meant being hungry or miserable. Soda showed me something different. I wasn't starving. I wasn't white-knuckling it throughout the day. I was learning. I was eating real food, texting my nutritionist when I had a question or hit a wall. People asked if I do it again, and I tell them I do it twice. Because when I got back, my energy, my focus, my sense of control, this isn't about fitting into skinny jeans. It's about showing up for life. Go to sodaweightloss.com. Click the Request Your Nutritionist callback. SOTA. It stands for State of the Art. SodaWeightLoss.com. You can do this. You know how I know you can do it? Man, I did it, and I like to eat. SodaWeightLoss.com.
Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
I'm Andrew Saul, Commissioner of Social Security. I'm here to warn you about telephone scammers pretending to be government employees. Some of these scammers may say threatening things like you will be arrested if you don't make payments or provide personal information. Do not fall for these tricks. These calls are not from us. Real Social Security employees will never threaten you for information or money. If you receive a call like this, hang up. Never give the caller your personal information, like your Social Security number or bank account, or send money in any form, cash, gift cards, wire transfers, or prepaid debit cards. Report the call to our law enforcement arm, the Office of the Inspector General, at oig.ssa.gov. Share this information with your friends and family.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done. This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Question: what will you find on all over-the-counter or OTC medicine packages to help you choose the right drug and use it safely? The answer: the Drug Facts label. This label lists the medicine's active ingredients and purpose, how much to take, and warnings you should know before using it. Remember, even OTC medicines you buy without a prescription can cause side effects you don't want. So follow the information listed on the Drug Facts label. For more information, visit fda.gov/Drug Facts label. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Inside Sources.
So tomorrow night, the Orangey Hatch Foundation will be giving Senator Tom Cotton from Arkansas their Titan of Public Service Award. And joining us right now is Matt Sandgren. He's the executive director of the foundation, and he is also a 15-year veteran of Capitol Hill. He served as senior counsel on the Senate Judiciary Committee, and I knew him as Senator Hatch's chief of staff. He grew up in Provo, but a Utah boy originally, but now he lives and works in D.C. Welcome, Matt.
Hi, Holly. It's good to hear your voice. Yes, I've gone back to the swamp, but it's good to be back in Utah today.
Thank you so much for joining us. Look, the first question, of course, is tell us about Senator Cotton and why you chose him for this award.
Oh, it was so easy. It's a no-brainer. You've got, someone like Senator Tom Cotton, who represents the great state of Arkansas. He is a military vet. Let me back up. He went to Harvard undergrad and then Harvard Law School, and then 9/11 hit. And instead of, pursuing a path of big law, he decided to enlist in the Army. And off he went. And so he has truly been one of those patriots that has given, so much to our country, has defended us abroad, and now serves so faithfully in the United States Senate. He came from the House and then over into the Senate. His life is dedicated to public service, and that's exactly what we look for when we award the Titan of Public Service Award every year.
So, Matt, tell us about the Orangey Hatch Foundation and this particular award.
So what we did years ago, thank you for that question. Years ago, we decided we wanted to host or convene our groups every, August. It's usually done during August recess to really commemorate and celebrate those who have given so much in public service. That's exactly what Senator Hatch did over his, 42 years in the United States Senate. our first award recipients were Senator Mitch McConnell, then the minority leader of the United States Senate, and his wife, Secretary Elaine Chao, serving as the Labor and Transportation Secretary. Last year we had, as you might recall, Senator John Thune, at the time was serving as the minority whip, and now today is the Senate Majority Leader. These are wonderful events where we bring folks together to celebrate public service, and that's really what the Gala is all about.
So can you tell our listeners a little bit more about the foundation outside of this award?
Correct. Thank you. You know, what we do at the Hatch Foundation is on a national scale. We focus on bipartisan solutions. We underscore civility that's desperately needed in the public square at this moment, as well as bipartisanship. We actually have an initiative with the Edward M. Kennedy Institute and the Orrin G. Hatch Foundation in a really important initiative called the Senate Project. We've done 6 debates where we bring polar opposites in the parties, Republican, Democrats. We're talking the Bernie Sanders and the Lindsey Grahams of the world, and we've allowed them to engage in debates. Fox News, NPR, C-SPAN, many others have moderated these important national discussions on their airwaves. And what we try to do is restore that hope in folks that you could still disagree, but you don't have to be uncivil about it. And that's what we're trying to bring about at the Hatch Foundation.
Tell us about the event tomorrow night. Who's coming? We know who's being honored, but what do you expect?
We expect a really good group of community leaders, a lot of public religious leaders, as well as, I don't know if any of your listeners have heard, but we're fortunate to have the U.S. Secretary of Labor, who is going to be one of our guests tomorrow night as we honor Senator Cotton. She's in town for some other issues. I think she's working with some of our members of the Utah delegation and is going to be joining us as one of our special guests. So it's a group of, anyone's invited, actually. If you wanted to go onto the Orrin G. Hatch Foundation website, it's not free, of course. You have to have a ticket, but the general public are welcome to get a ticket. It's not exclusive to just one group. Everyone's invited to attend.
So, Matt, can you tell us what's going on in D.C. right now? I know the House is in recess. I'm not sure what the Senate's doing, but can you let us know?
Well, that's a really good question. The Senate did adjourn, and they recessed finally. On many people would say on a rare Saturday workday, they finally recessed last Saturday. And here's what we know: they could not come to an agreement on some of the lower level administrative positions that President Trump has tried to fill, which require Senate confirmation. We're not talking about cabinet officials. Those folks or the cabinet secretaries, they were long ago confirmed, but we're then talking about lower level administrative positions, which are not unimportant, but they cannot proceed without Senate confirmation. And we just can't seem to get bipartisan agreement in moving forward on this. And when people think, oh, well, that's just how Washington is, to date, I think the number was 140 of President Trump's nominees are still awaiting confirmation. And again, these are people who've already gone through the committee process, and they're just waiting for some work to be done by the Senate. And, you know, there's a wonky term called voice votes, where, you know, you just bring them down to the Senate floor and the majority leader and the minority leader, they agree with a block of nominees by voice vote, and off they go. To date, the Democrats have not allowed the Republicans to do any voice votes on President Trump's nominees. And that is what's causing the turmoil out there. And just to put things in perspective, President Biden, he had 44 of his nominees voice voted, which required the Republicans' cooperation. So it's not equally yoked here, and that's what's waiting for them when they come back in September. You know, a lot of people like to say, oh, this is August recess where they just sit by the pool and, sip their Diet Cokes. It's not so. And you know this, Holly.
Yeah.
They have to be with their constituents. They have to do all this stuff. But when they get back in September, they've got to figure out if the Republicans under John Thune, they've got to decide, do we want to adjust the rules for the Senate to allow some of these lower nominees to get through quicker? We've got to figure out how to keep the government funded. We've got an expiration of September 30th. You've got NDAA, and then you sprinkle on top what's been going on in the House, the Jeffrey Epstein files. There's a lot cooking. So be nice to your members of Congress when they're in town, because they've got a lot of work awaiting them when they get back.
Yeah. Okay. So Epstein is a big issue, and I don't think it's going to go away. But let me ask you this: you were saying these are lower level administration picks. Can you give me just an example? Like, what would one or two of those positions be?
It would be like a deputy secretary. It would be any of these. You choose Department of Labor, Department of Justice, Department of Ag. Any of these assistant secretary positions that require they are presidentially appointed, and therefore they need to be confirmed. That's what we're talking about. No. And so they're part of the cabinet's pick to help empanel their workers to help push what the voters they agreed to in November. This is what the voters decided in America. They wanted President Trump and his administration. So therefore, you've got to allow the president to have his workers to implement his agenda. And that's not happening.
Matt, this might be an unfair question, but you probably know the answer better than anybody. How would Senator Hatch react to what's happening in our country right now?
He would, I think he would bemoan the fact that we cannot seem to get along. And this is someone that, he was very, very conservative, but he also got along with everyone. He would be on the Senate floor. He would debate the best of them, whether it be Amy Klobuchar, a very good liberal, or even Ted Kennedy from Massachusetts, and then they would go have dinner together. And then they would listen to one another. And he was always willing to do that. And I think that's what's missing at this point. People are, at this moment in time, are not willing to break bread together. They're not willing to spend time and see eye to eye. You don't have to be nasty, or you don't have to be such an obstructionist. Because, again, this in world of politics, as you both know, the pendulum swings hard, and it swings back fast. So while, the moment the Republicans are in the majority, one day they will be in the minority again. And guess what? Chuck Schumer, this is what we'll be waiting for now. You've established this precedent. This is what's happened now. These sub-cabinet nominees now will not be voice voted because this is what the Democrats chose to do. I sound partisan, but that's unfortunately what has happened. It's not – the Republicans have agreed to doing voice votes in previous administrations.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. That's Matt Sangren that we've been talking to, and he's the executive director of the Orrin G. Hatch Foundation, and they're honoring Senator Tom Cotton tomorrow.
After the break, we've been talking a lot about the development of nuclear energy. What about putting it on the moon? The United States wants to be the first to get nuclear power station on the moon. We'll talk about that after the break.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Verl Johansson. KSL's top local story this hour. Students in the Tooele School District have the opportunity to take learning outdoors this school year. The Ophir Learning Center recently had its open house for their Learning Lodge. Programs have been running outdoors all summer with classes like outdoor photography, mountain biking, watercolor painting, and fly tying. Ed Dalton with the Tooele Education Foundation says many students have trouble learning in the classroom, but outdoors is a different story.
And we find students that come here, get engaged, hands-on learning, and then they don't want to go home.
Dalton says with the new lodge, they can now offer classes all year round. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Stanford University says it'll be laying off thousands of employees. ABC's Alex Stone reports from California.
Days after UCLA said some medical research would be stopped because of the Trump administration pulling grants, now Stanford University says due to federal policy changes, it will cost Stanford $140 million. It will lay off over 300 employees. Layoffs take effect on September 30th. The federal government is slashing money for research grants and higher education funding and is increasing taxes on university endowments. Alex Stone, ABC News.
Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 108 points, the S&P is up 42, the NASDAQ is up 209 points. And coming up, a little brief cool down before we get back into the 90s. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 11:31.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Hi, this is Doug Wright in the Wright household. We have been anxiously awaiting Footloose at Hale Center Theater. Utahns have a great relationship with the classic movie, and now the chance to see it at Hale Center Theater on stage. The energy and the performances just off the charts. Dialed to 11. There are supporting roles from a vintage VW Bug that I loved, and even a 70s era well-used Chevy pickup. You will love Footloose. And boy, I forgot how many hits are part of this great story. The live element, too, to the music is something that I always love. And by the way, when Ariel's dad, the good Reverend Moore, comes around on the dance, it is perfect. Footloose. It's underway right now, Hale Center Theater. And don't forget, still to come, Murder of the 1940s Sister Act Frozen. And be sure to go to hct.org not only to get your tickets to Footloose, but look at the 2026 season 2.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduced stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. Stroke risk may increase. Eliquis can cause serious and potentially fatal bleeding. Don't take if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or bleed longer. A spinal injection increases blood clot risk, which may cause paralysis. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding or bruising, or back pain, tingling, numbness, muscle weakness, or incontinence. Aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's My Style checking account. Here's Ricky Meese.
We do have debris affecting lanes of travel. If you're going to be on 2100 southwestbound, watch for a right lane blocked as you're approaching 3rd West. It is causing just a little bit of a reduced speed in the area because of the cones out. And then we also have road work blocking lanes of travel and causing lane shifts. This is northbound 4th West between 3rd and 5th North. No matter the weather, your feet can feel fantastic. Find the Good Feet location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Well, today's looking to be sunny, smoky, breezy, and hot with a high of 99 degrees. Tomorrow, we cool off just a little bit to 98 before we drop into the 80s on Friday and Saturday. Right now, it's partly cloudy and 90 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Verl Johansson from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
So this news story kind of makes me chuckle a little bit, and here's why. Do you remember the moonshot from JFK? Do you remember that? No. I mean, it was maybe before your time, but do you remember news stories about the moonshot?
Yes.
Right? So what was the goal?
To get to the moon before the
Soviets, right? And it was this huge, you can call it the big, hairy, audacious goal, right? Some people use that when they talk about goal planning, BHAGs. It was this huge goal, didn't know how we were going to do it. We did it. But now, like all things old or new again, and the United States wants to be the very first to put nuclear energy technology on the moon.
Only this time we have to beat China, it seems.
That is right. We have to beat China. But there are other countries too, but China for sure is like, we're going to get up there. India too, I think, is trying to get up there.
Yeah, here's News Nation's national correspondent Mills Hayes with more on this idea to put nuclear on the moon.
The United States is one step closer to extended stays on the moon and to space exploration even beyond. Politico is reporting that Secretary Sean Duffy is going to announce plans to build a nuclear reactor on the moon. NASA had been working towards having a 40 kilowatt reactor on the moon, but Duffy's plan is reportedly to get proposals for a 100 kilowatt reactor to launch by 2030.
Well, having nuclear power in space is really important for any human exploration beyond low Earth orbit, because the moon has 2 weeks of day, but then it has 2 weeks of night. So you can't have solar power on the moon unless you have some really huge batteries, right? Because you need a battery at nighttime, like we have on the space station.
It's been over 50 years since an American set foot on the moon, and this project would allow for more people to stay on the moon longer. A power source on the moon not only gives the U.S. a lunar foothold, it becomes a testing ground for exploration further than the moon. Duffy's timeline is years ahead of a reported Chinese and Russian mission to also build a nuclear plant on the moon.
China would love nothing more than to beat us. If they can beat us to the moon, that sends a very powerful visceral signal to all of humanity that China's ahead of America. So they want to beat us to the moon. And if they win this next space race, then a lot of people are going to think, well, maybe that authoritarian system isn't so bad. So it's important that America not fall behind this race, because the things we do on the moon are going to dramatically impact the things that happen here on Earth to the 8 billion of us that are down here on the planet.
The announcement comes amid NASA's downsizing. About 20% of NASA's employees opted to leave the agency as part of DOGE's Deferred Resignation and Voluntary Departure program. Reportedly, the announcement will require NASA to appoint someone to lead the project.
So I have like a bazillion questions. So their timeline is super tight. It's like 4 years. Like they want it up there and functional
2030,
by 2030, right? And we just heard that they have reduced their force by 20%, right? And like some of my questions are like, but why? I mean, he kind of said that, but we're trying to get nuclear here within the state, and we already know that the regulatory environment is difficult. We're trying to move forward with that. We can try these micro reactors, and even then it might take 4 or 5 years before we have the very first one available, but we're going to put something on the moon?
I know, but it's the micro reactor part of it that makes it more appealing, because they are small. It's not like this big mega complex that's going to take buses and buses of size aircraft or rockets to get to the moon.
Okay, but
I know. It's not the kind of thing you can put in your toolbox either. But if you're going to have a station on the moon, if you're going to have people on the moon doing any work for a significant period of time, you've got to have power. And like he said, solar's not going to work except 2 weeks. I didn't realize the moon had such a slow cycle.
I don't even know if that's true.
2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, so you're going to be in the dark and the cold part of the time. But you've got to be able to generate oxygen. You've got to generate light, generate quarters so people can sleep and eat, cook, whatever. So yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense. 2030, there's no way we're going to have a nuclear power plant on the moon by 2030. But I mean, people probably said that 50 years ago.
Yeah, for sure they did. But remember, they put a ton of resources into that, and they're like really just poured a lot. And we're just talking about we just cut 20%. Plus, we've cut a lot of our scientists. Plus, we've cut a lot of the energy stuff. Okay. Questions about safety. So, or even the foundation of like, what do you do with water? Right? We know that nuclear right now, a lot of it requires at least some water. What's going to happen? And what happens if it blows up?
Well, yeah, that's a problem. But I don't think they have a lot of regulations on the moon. So maybe. But the water, Holly, is a cooling factor. It's to cool.
I guess the moon's just
already
cools.
But the moon's pretty cold. I think the moon is already cold.
A natural cooling agent.
Yeah, I mean, for 2 weeks,
true.
the lights go off, so it's pretty cold up there.
Gosh. Okay. Do you see any other problems? Like if there's some kind of a meltdown, if there's something goes wrong and we take big chunks out of the moon, the Earth will feel it.
There you go. Yes, if the moon shatters, then our
well, we can just kiss Earth on life goodbye.
Then all the tidal waves and everything will just go.
Oh my gosh,
it'll be awful. No, but I mean, but Holly, people were having this conversation 50, 60 years ago. How are you going to get somebody on the moon? There's no way we're going to get somebody to land. What if they did land? What are they going to do? How are they going to breathe? How are they going to get back home? And we figured it out. And we figured it out so long ago that you wonder why we haven't done something like this sooner.
Well,
because we went to the moon, and I think what they just said, we haven't had a person on the moon in 50 years. Why not?
Right. I mean, and that's part of the question, right? The last time humans were on the moon was during the Apollo 17 mission, which ended in December of 1972.
Right.
Right? So the next visit we are making to the moon is to take nuclear up there?
Well, but, if it's not us, it will be the Russians. They're not
Look,
Soviets
I don't disagree with that. I just find it really amusing that we're having this conversation. They're saying it with a very straight face. They're very serious. But we have not sent humans to the moon in more than 50 years.
What I don't understand is the race part of it. I think that if you got together a coalition of Russians, Indians, whoever else is involved, Chinese, Japanese, and said, let's put a coalition together and let's get some.
That's Star Trek.
Let's set up a little village on the moon, a little place where people can live, and everybody's going to pitch in, and we're going to build a power plant there, whether
that's
it's nuclear
the International
or
Space
solar
Station, though. We already have that kind of.
Right.
But that's Star Trek, right? Federation of Planets, except we're now saying Federation of Countries. We could do more together than trying to say, okay, we're going to compete.
Absolutely, and I think if we got together, we could do it by 2030.
Yeah, we probably could.
So, but if we're all fighting against each other, having a race, then something bad's going. At least one country's going to blow their ship up on the way up. I mean, I don't know. I just think do you remember The Martian, that movie?
Yeah.
The Chinese saved us. I mean, it was great.
That movie. So I listened before I saw the movie. I listened to the book, and there's a lot of swearing in it, but it was such an amusing and compelling concept, right? We've made it to Mars, but there's this huge storm and some guy gets left behind, but he figures out how to survive, right? We could probably figure out how to live on the moon. I know Elon Musk really wants to. I think he wants to go to Mars and colonize Mars, but we don't even haven't had a person set foot on the moon in more than 50 years.
Yeah, and so, no, I think it's an interesting concept. I think 2030 is way aggressive, maybe 2040. If an international coalition gets together, maybe 10 years from now, you could do something like that.
On a more serious note, what this actually will mean is you have to allocate resources to this. That means personnel. It means dollars, right? Elon Musk, I think, would be super happy and maybe back in Trump's good graces to be part of this project, I guess. But this is not a small feat, and this is not a cheap feat. And so what it's going to take is you're going to have to move money from elsewhere, and where is it going to come from to really prioritize this, especially in the time frame.
Right. Yeah. So maybe just a neat idea. Maybe we're not. Maybe we're.
Well, Sean Duffy's serious about it.
Yeah, have some fun talking about it. We have some breaking news we're going to talk about after the break. There's been a shooting at a Georgia military base. 5 soldiers have been shot. The shooter is apparently in custody. When we come back, we're going to break that down and give you some information and updates on what's happened there.
Do you know the secret to losing up to 1 pound of fat every day? At Salt Lake City Fat Loss, we know the secret. Our doctor-developed, easy-to-follow weight loss program helps you lose weight fast, naturally, and safely with no drugs or injections. No prepackaged meals, bars, shakes, or exercising required. Our program helps reset your metabolism so you can lose weight quickly and keep the weight off for good with an easy-to-follow maintenance plan that includes ongoing personal support. And our program costs half as much and works up to twice as fast than most other programs. Go to slcfatloss.com to schedule your free consultation now.
I'm Jeff Kaplan. It's happening. I've dropped 19 pounds in 3 weeks, and people are asking, did you lose weight? I did. No injections. Go to slcfatloss.com. It works.
Many clients lose 20 to 30 pounds in about a month or two. That's up to a pound per day. Schedule your free consultation now at slcfatloss.com. That's slcfatloss.com. Results may vary.
3 days only. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Save thousands on hot tubs and swim spas. 2 area locations. Salt Lake at Southtown Mall in the Big White Tent. And St. George at Washington County Legacy Park. Major manufacturers liquidation of new 2025 spas. Discounted up to 40 to 80%. We have spas to fit any backyard or budget. Free professional delivery, instant on-site financing. 2 area locations, Salt Lake and Southtown Mall in the Big White Tent, and St. George at Washington County Legacy Park. Transform your backyard with a swim spa for the fraction of the price of a pool. The easiest way to exercise or relax in your backyard. Just fill and chill. Shockingly low monthly payments. Don't miss this opportunity to build the backyard of your dreams. See the latest models in person. 3 days only, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 2 area locations. Salt Lake at Southtown Mall in the Big White Tent, and St. George at Washington County Legacy Park. Learn more online at HotTubAndSwimSpaSale.com. HotTubAndSwimSpaSale.com.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have Leaf Filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/deal to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/deal for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
Most of us like to be out in the sun. That's why sunscreen and other safety measures are key to protecting your skin from aging and cancer. The FDA recommends using a sunscreen with an SPF of 15 or higher. Also, look for broad spectrum on the label. That means both harmful ultraviolet A and B rays are blocked. Remember, SPF plus broad spectrum equal healthy fun in the sun. Visit www.fda.gov/sunscreen for more information. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. One of the best ways to support the local economy is by shopping local. From retail boutiques to family-owned restaurants, the impact is felt across Utah. Today, South Jordan Chamber President and CEO Boyd Peterson joins us to share how local businesses power his community.
One of the strongest ways to support South Jordan's economy is by shopping local. According to the American Independent Business Alliance, for every $100 spent at a local business, about $68 stays in our community. Compare that to just $43 at the national chains. This reinvestment helps create jobs, drive economic growth, and improve quality of life in South Jordan. Our Buy Local South Jordan initiative shines a spotlight on the city's vibrant small business community, offering residents easy ways to support local entrepreneurs. Local businesses give South Jordan its distinct character and charm, which big box retailers simply can't replicate. By choosing to shop local, residents help preserve our community's identity, foster economic vitality, and enjoy quality products and services. The South Jordan Chamber encourages everyone to make a conscious choice to shop local and keep our community thriving. To learn more about our local businesses, go to southjordanbuylocal.com.
When shopping local, you're investing in real people, unique stories in the heart of your community. It's more than a purchase. It's a meaningful choice that fuels connection and keeps your community vibrant, creative, and authentic. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
Before a disaster turns your family's world upside down, it's up to you to be ready. Get a kit, make a plan, be informed. Learn how at www.ready.gov. Brought to you by the Federal Emergency Management Agency and the Ad Council.
And expanded Inside Sources.
We've been following a story developing out of Georgia where 5 soldiers were shot at an Army base in Georgia today. This was at Fort Stewart, Georgia. The shooter is apparently apprehended, Holly.
Yeah, and that story, of course, it's always scary, right? When you start to see news stories say, hey, there's an active shooter, especially at a military base. So we can hear more on the investigation from ABC's Luis Martinez, who's at the Pentagon.
The investigation is now going to proceed and figure out exactly what the motivation was for this shooting. Was the shooter a soldier as well? Was it a civilian potentially who worked? We don't know yet those kinds of details. They're going to try to figure out whose weapon this was. Was this a personal firearm? They're going to look and see what kind of security measures need to be enhanced. I should point out that Fort Stewart is a very large base. It's a very important base for the Army. It's home to the Army's 3rd Infantry Division, which is one of its larger armored units. So there's a lot of training that goes on there as well. There's also some attached airfields where some training goes on, and it's close to Savannah, Georgia. I think there's a clue about exactly where this may have happened when you see that press release from the 3rd Infantry Division, which is they keep referring to the 2nd Brigade Combat Team Complex. That to me indicates that this was a headquarters facility associated with the unit. Typically, you were thinking about an office space. So workplace violence, of course, is not limited to the civilian world. We've seen previous instances where this has happened.
And officials say that Fort Stewart, which is near Savannah, Georgia, was on lockdown for nearly an hour until they were able to arrest a suspect. 5 service members were taken to the hospital. We don't know anything about their health right now. We don't know anything about the person who was taken into custody, whether he was a fellow service member or what. And as Louise just told us, we don't even know where he got the gun or much about that. But we do know that at least the base authorities are telling us that the situation is there's no further risk.
No further risk to the public. And it was on lockdown for a little while, right? But again, the shooter has been taken into custody and will, I'm sure, be following this story throughout the rest of the day.
Yeah, it's one of those things, Holly, when we get here and we have the news media screens all over the place and you're just watching this unfold. I mean, the chaos that was going on, and it's at a base. I mean, you've got the best in the business already there in terms of security and whatnot, but they're running, they're scrambling, there's a shooter on the base. It's not the kind of thing anyone expects in a situation like that. They say that the shooter is in custody, so it wasn't one of those suicide by cop kind of a thing where he went out with a bang.
Right.
But who knows what's going on. We'll probably have more information about that tomorrow.
Yeah. So on a more on a serious note, as we transition to some of my facts of the day, on this day in 1945, which means it was 80 years ago today, there was an American bomber who dropped an atomic bomb on Hiroshima, killed 80,000 people immediately, and another 60,000 would be dead by the end of the year from the effects of radiation.
Yeah, 80 years ago today, and we just talked a minute ago about how far we've come with nuclear since then, and of course that was an atomic bomb, but we're talking about putting a power plant on the moon. I mean, that the technology, and even if you think about that, where we were technology-wise 80 years ago, that we were able to make a bomb that could create such devastation. It obviously ended the war in every respect, and we've learned a lot since then about that. I don't know whether looking back, people would say that was a good idea or a bad idea.
Well, we dropped a bomb on Nagasaki 3 days later. That killed 70,000 people, and then by the middle of August of that year, Japan had surrendered. But what's interesting to me is I saw an article in the Associated Press today is there are still survivors from that attack. So they were living there in Hiroshima at the time, 80 years ago. The average age, of course, is now exceeding 86. But I saw one survivor quoted who's in his 90s, and he just said, "Look, I'm really worried that the world is talking more and more about using nuclear weapons as deterrence." And so there's really some concern about the people who lived through it to say, hey, maybe you're taking this nuclear weapon thing too lightly.
Yeah, we do have an update on a story we just mentioned a minute ago about the shooting in Georgia. The shooter is, in fact, a soldier who was at the base. So I don't know if that makes a difference, but it's something I think people were curious about.
Yeah, and to me, that's not surprising to me. But workplace violence, as mentioned. So I have to tell you about some other firsts for today, right, on this day. So on this day in 1787, the first complete draft of the proposed Constitution was actually debated. So this is the first time. Yep. And on this day in 1911, so this is a long time ago to me, Lucille Ball was born. On this day in 1911.
Oh, I love Lucy.
Holy cow,
yeah.
right? I love Lucy.
Yeah.
So in 1965, so this was 60 years ago today, President Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Voting Rights Act, which guaranteed African Americans the right to vote. This legislation meant that suffrage was finally extended to black women for the first time. There were still some other issues with poll taxes and some other things, but the Voting Rights Act was signed on this day 60 years ago. And in 1991, the World Wide Web made its public debut, believe it or not.
1991.
Yeah.
That's.
And it was meant, the internet
34 years ago.
The internet was first created, was meant to link universities so that they could share some documents and resources together. And now it's just exploded,
look at
right?
Where we've come.
Yeah, look at where we've come. So today, you know, I always give you, today is the XYZ day, right? So today is National Root Beer Float Day.
Do you like root beer floats?
I do, actually. Yeah. And have you ever had? I've heard them called brown cows or orange cows. Have you ever had those? That's like Pepsi or Coke with ice cream, or orange Fanta with ice cream.
No, you gotta have root beer. You gotta have a root beer.
Right.
If you're gonna have a float, it's gotta be
root beer, which I guess is
With
why they
vanilla
call it a
ice
cow.
cream.
I don't know.
Right,
Right,
yes.
with vanilla. I've had Sprite with like a flavored sherbet in there, so that can be good. But it's National Root Beer Float Day, and there's a news story about a famous restaurant in Utah that's going to have a new location down in Daybreak.
Speaking of root beer.
Speaking of root beer, it's Hires Big H.
Yeah.
So there's some really interesting details on Hires. So for over 65 years, they've been in Utah. They were founded in 1959. Their commitment to quality, I'm reading this straight from KSL, they had a spot on USA Today's list of the best burgers in 25 U.S. cities. They've also been featured in the Wall Street Journal, Gourmet Magazine, AAA's Via Travel Guide, and now they're headed to Daybreak.
Yeah, and I don't recall where they are still in the Salt Lake area. I think there's one up on 7th East. At least there was for quite a while.
It's a popular place for politicians to go and talk campaign stuff.
Right, yeah, and it's a good place to eat, as I recall, too. I haven't been there in a little while.
Yeah, so
Hires
there's
Big H.
There's
moving
fry
to
sauce
Daybreak.
there. There's fry sauce.
there you go.
You can totally get root beer floats there. So yeah, okay. My joke. How do trees feel in the spring?
I don't know.
Relieved, like a leaf.
There you go. Is that your dad joke?
Yeah, that's my dad joke of the day.
So I've been dying to tell you my dad joke. I haven't given one, but I thought about it the other day. I live up in Ogden, by the valley, and there's all these big birds there. They're called pelicans. And do you know why they're called pelicans?
No.
Because their bill can hold more than their belly can.
That is a good dad joke. I'm proud of you.
One of my dad's faves. Yes.
I'm proud of you. I do have one other fact, and this one's not a fun one. In 2011, a U.S. military helicopter was shot down in eastern Afghanistan, killing 30 Americans. Most of them were on SEAL Team 6 that took out Osama bin Laden.
Oh.
So the entire team. I mean, if you want to talk about conspiracy theories, that's one that's right.
Yeah, that's a spooky
conspiracy.
one. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't remember that.
Yeah, so 2011, 14 years ago today. Okay. Well, we have come to the end of another show.
Yes, and quite a lot going on here and there's more going on. So don't give up on us today. Remember, the Utah Attorney General is filing charges against a Cache County man. That's news story, accused of sexually assaulting a teenage girl more than 4 years ago. The AG's office is now investigating whether there could be other victims. And there's a really interesting story about the statute of limitations as it relates to cases like that we're going to break down. More details on midday here on KSL Radio next.
Johnson in for Maria Chaleos. KSL's top story this hour. The Utah Attorney General is filing charges against a Cache County man accused of sexually assaulting